Testing, testing. Welcome everyone. Welcome. What's going on? Welcome to the live stream. Hopefully no technical issues today. I've actually got my mic unmuted for today's live stream, which is a great start, much better than last time. We've got Mike from PURESEAL / New Tech. He's got his own business, but he also helps PURESEAL with the training courses as well. So he's going to be the perfect person to ask all our chemical related questions and sealing and all that sort of stuff. So that'll be exciting. I've had an admin day today. I've been catching up on emails. I've done all my, I don't know if you can see in the background there, that's all my receipts for the last like 2 months. So I've sent my accounts off to my accountant for the last 12 months, submitted all that. So I'm feeling very organised today. What else? I've tidied the van. I'm going down to London on Friday for it's like a big block paved drive, and we're doing some honed, we're not sure whether it's honed sandstone or honed limestone, so I'm going to take some hydrochloric acid with me and do a little acid test just to see if we can tell the difference. But we're taking 2 machines. My friend Rich is jumping on to help me, and we're going to put his machine in my van, and we're going to tee off of just 1 tank. So 1 feed hose from the customer's property going into the water tank, and then we're going to have 2 outlets on the tank at the bottom. 1 to his machine, 1 to mine. So hopefully we can get it done. It's going to be a 2-hour journey down to London just to do a drive and a patio, but it's going to be a good job, I think. So welcome everyone. Tracy, welcome. Spencer, Prompt, Peak, Matt, Luke. Your videos have been a big help. Keep it up. Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. Jamie, welcome. Do you do a discounted price per square meter if it's a larger area? Potentially. It's a bit of a contentious subject with commercial work. Some people say charge more for like big commercial work. Other people say, yeah, if it's domestic and it's a bigger square meterage, then yeah, I'd probably drop my prices down a little bit, depending on the job. But with commercial work, some people like to add a little bit of buffer just in case things go wrong, because things tend to go wrong, or like oversights or failures, equipment hire, unexpected circumstances, all that sort of stuff. What room is that you're in? It's my son's room. I've got a 9-year-old boy, and this is his bedroom. So, hence the Minecraft. All the teddies staring at me. But this is kind of like, I built him a desk. Like I built in this floating bed, and it's got a wraparound desk, and he plays all his games here and stuff. So. How are those your plushy toys? They're not mine. Linny's welcome. H2 Bro Solutions, still the best name in the chat. Welcome, mate. DJ B3ST unit. How big is the tank? It's only a 250 litre tank. It's fine for me on my own. We're hoping that this person's gonna have decent water pressure. And if not, I'll just knock on a neighbour's door and see if they'd mind us plumbing into theirs as well. It's not going to be the end of the world. Why hasn't he got someone in London to do it? Because I think he saw either my TikTok or my YouTube, and he just specifically wanted me, I guess. He's been waiting 3 months because it's a job that I'm going to do biocide on afterwards. And the weather's been so crap that it's not been dry. And so I don't want to put the biocide down for it to then immediately rain and just wash it all away. It'd be a total waste of product. So I've taken a deposit from him like 3 months ago, quite a significant deposit, and he's just been waiting, and I've rescheduled 3 times just because of the weather, and he's just been quite happy to wait for me. So it's crazy, really. I keep offering him a refund on his deposit, because I'm saying, like, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get you back in because the weather's just so unpredictable. But he's been fine. Do you think you'll run out of water if you've got two big machines? It's a risk. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, it's not a huge drive. It's not a huge area that we have to clean. So if we have to, stop every half an hour, it's not going to be the end of the world. But yeah, like I say, if it does slow us down significantly, we'll just knock on a neighbour's door and see if we can use their water supply. Generally, I think at about 15 litres per minute, full whack, you're using about 90p an hour in water. I think I did that calculation a long time ago, so I don't know if that's still relevant, but it was roughly 90p an hour. So I'll just slip on my fiver and just say that should cover the water. You know what I mean? How do, Chris Green? Welcome. Starting with some guttering cleans. Would the Screwfix wet and dry vac be worth starting as an option? I started with a wet and dry vac from Screwfix, and just get a purpose-built gutter vacuum. You won't regret it. Just save up and buy the best thing you can buy. Gutter vacuum systems do some fantastic vacuums, and they're very competitively priced as well. So I'd go for the Panther if it's your first vacuum. Skip trying to work around all the Screwfix stuff. By the time you've changed the inlet port, and by the time you've got yourself some extendable poles and a proper hose, that 51mm hose, because the one that comes with it's like 38mm or something, it's just going to get blocked constantly. It's going to be a nightmare for you. So at the expo, what did you purchase? I only purchased a little chemical pump for my gardener backpack from DA Components. That was the only thing I bought. My weekend's been good, thanks, mate. Busy. I've been working. I work every Sunday. So Jamie says, just setting up, new to this, your videos have been great help. Copied your buffer tank tips. Just purchased the JCB 4000. Am I alone in being confused by all the chemicals needed? Jamie, you're definitely not alone when it comes to chemicals, especially if you're new to the game. Do plenty of research. Listen to tonight's live stream, because we've got Mike from PURESEAL, and he's going to be helping us with all our questions. So if you guys have got questions about chemicals, get them ready, and hopefully Mike can. We'll try and make sure he can read the live chat, and then yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's a few questions I've got that they've been sort of burning in the back of my brain. There's things we discuss on the Discord every day that it's like, oh, we could really do with like a professional in here that knows all the answers to these, because at the minute I'm going off of my experience. When I'm answering people's questions, it's based on my experience. It's not based on a professional knowledge of chemicals. So this is going to be quite insightful tonight, hopefully. Evening, Barclay. What's in that coffee? It looks good. This is just milk, a tablespoon of coffee, a tablespoon of sugar, and ice. Iced coffee. You're about to quote over 1,000 meters squared of concrete. Do you think I should put a discount price on the quarterly cleans? I'd do the first one at full price, because they'll tell you they want it cleaned quarterly, but people have told me that so many times over the years that they want it cleaned regularly, and once they get it done the first time, you just don't hear from them again, or it might be 12 months before you hear from them. Do the first one at full price would be my advice, and then say, if you'd like it done quarterly, I'll do it for like 20% off or 25% off or whatever, because you're right, it'll already be clean. You might just need to soft wash it the second time, you never know. Jake Marsh, welcome. Yes, absolutely do a discount. Trackers, welcome. When cleaning out the joints on tonight's vid, I use a hammer drill with the spike. It's a lot easier than a hammer. Yeah, I generally use an angle grinder. I had an angle grinder in the van, but there was only a few little bits. Most of it came out with a turbo nozzle. So there's only a few little bits we had to knock out, so I didn't think it was worth getting the angle grinder out, trying to find a power supply, and just getting everything dusty again. I'm here all day, mate. Connor, welcome. Right, should we see if Mike's around? we've got a new one in the Discord already. Oh, it's Mike. There we go. Let's pause that. Hello, hello. Here he is.
Hello, hello.
Hello. 2 seconds. I need to swap you over to my earphones. Do do do. Do do do. Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
I hear you fine. I'm watching on YouTube, but I'm not in the Discord group.
That's okay. I can hear you. Okay. Can you put your camera on? There he is.
But because I'm listening on YouTube, there's quite a delay. I'm hearing myself back. So
Yeah.
bear with me, guys. Hello, good evening. Hope everybody's well and busy.
Mike's here, everyone. So you'll wanna turn the YouTube live stream off. I'll send you a link to the chat so you can see the chat, and you wanna just jump in the Discord and put your turn your microphone on in the Discord, basically.
What's that?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, perfectly well, mate. Yeah, all good.
Oh, beautiful. This looks good. This looks so much better than last week. Right. Let me send you a link to the live chat to see if you can see people's questions and stuff. I'll send it you on Facebook. Facebook Messenger. Have you got your phone next to you?
Yeah.
Okay. How have you been? You had a good day?
Yeah, been a bit of a piss about day. It was scheduled as an office day anyway, but had to chase up a repair to the kitchen, leaky tap on a new kitchen, and chasing up Arnold Clark over a car repair and getting distracted a bit too much. But you need to do it some days. Thankfully, it was scheduled as an office day, and I did have the time, but I'd rather have done other things. But such as life, life gets in the way of business, or business gets in the way of the life. I'm not sure which way it is.
Yeah. Have you? When you say office day, is your office at home, presumably?
Yeah, I use my spare bedroom as an office. Essentially, I can come and go as I please. I can come in quite easily 6 till 8 on a Saturday and a Sunday morning, and it's quite productive. Same, I can work late at night. I can do I do a lot of my work with Australia at night, so it's just easier working from home for me.
So you're getting up and doing admin at like 6 till 8 most mornings, are you?
Yeah, it's my most productive time of day to do that kind of thing. I pot around the edges of an afternoon and of an evening. If I've been on the tools for the day, then I'll just do basic invoicing and things like that, and just admin, reconciliation, just the basic stuff. But if I want to write quotes or deal with tricky emails, anything that needs proper concentration and a fresh mind, then my most productive hours is the first 2 hours in the day when there's nobody's up. I'm freshly out of my sleep. I'm awake and I'm concentrating best.
Yeah, I'm in I've just changed my calendar around so that I've got Mondays as like admin days. But if I'm getting quotes throughout the week, I'm not going to sort of save them till Monday. So I think your way might be better, is just getting up early and just spending a couple of hours every morning getting organised and catching up on stuff.
I think with quotes, the key thing is to be fast.
Mm-hmm.
While the ideas in the head is still fresh and it's hot and they're interested, before somebody else goes in there and takes it off you, because I've seen it a couple of times this year and there's not much I could have done about it, but when you're quoting on something that's come in 3, 4, 5 days ago, there's a good chance somebody's already been there who's hungrier than you, who needs the job more than you, and is possibly cheaper than you. There's a good chance that person's gone in there and sold that job, and the person hasn't had the courtesy to phone you up and cancel you coming out. So, leads are hot, grab them, act on them, chase them down.
Yeah, if you can get out the same day. Do you visit all your quotes, or do you do many of them remotely?
I deal with all inbound inquiries myself, so they get filtered from the second I pick the phone up, where they are, what they're looking for. even those that I'm scheduling, I'll look on Street View to give myself an idea before I go there. Little things like that. Even it helps to Google your client if they've got a unique name or they're in an area. You can often find who they are, what they're about, and you can talk to them on their level. I've just priced a job for an accountant who is the Scottish manager for this international accountancy firm. Big guy, big roller, heavy hitter, clever guy, nice, really nice bloke. But by checking him out before I went, I knew a bit more about him and his business and potential links.
Yeah.
It's just due diligence. It's just smart business, and found out we had a mutual friend, and it was a great icebreaker.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you? Did you manage to get that chat up on your phone?
I'll just check that out. Too busy getting carried away.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, got it. Glad I went to Specsavers, although it's very small. Okay.
So you should be able to
So-
see the live feed now, I think.
Yeah, got it, mate. Yeah.
Wicked. So if you spot any questions throughout this entire conversation, feel free to divert from whatever we're talking about. If you find an interesting question that you want to jump onto, I'm sure, there's 60 people watching here. I'm sure they've all got questions about chemicals or sealers or whatever. Before we get into that, did you want to... I know you as Mike from PURESEAL. I don't know whether that's that entire... I don't think that covers everything you do. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself and let people know what you do.
Yeah, I'll do that. I think format-wise, I think we have got some inquiries that have already come in. I think we'll keep it simple. We'll maybe look, if this works, we're going to do it in the future. We'll maybe look at themes for one particular evening or things along that way. You can easily get sidetracked by questions. But what if I see something pop up that I think is really pertinent? And that's really going to help with the thread we're going along, I'll probably pick up on it right away. I think I don't know the audience. I don't know what kind of questions they're going to give me. That's the same with the training, as we have to adapt our approach. When we first started training, January last year, most of the people that were on the courses were old seasoned pros, guys that we knew anyway, guys that have been in the industry for a long time, people who were already clients, people who from all over the country who just wanted to change their approach, and a lot of them were older guys who were set in their ways, and they changed their ways, but that's by the by. So I don't know the audience. I don't know what level I'm talking at. I'll keep it basic, keep it simple.
Yeah. So
and we'll go through. Maybe we can in advance we can pick topics for particular nights. But personally, my experience, I went to Scotland straight from school. I studied engineering in Glasgow. I was a marine engineer, ships engineer for quite a long time. During that time, I was involved in a company manufacturing car washes, manufacturing chemicals, biocides, soaps, repairing and servicing pressure washers, which is how I got my ground in the industry. I went self-employed, part-time while I was still at sea, pressure washing. Very simple, built it up over the years. Still pressure washing now, got a good external cleaning business, New Tech Cleaning, nice and busy, plenty of industrial, domestic, the whole shebang. I got involved in roof coatings, import distribution back in, I think, 1999. Specialised in that for a long time, so that's the next thing we're going to go into, and we'll not talk too much about it because there's still some things to be finalised, but roof coating is probably my speciality.
So cleaning the roof first and then applying some sort of sealer or paint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just simple as that, mate. Just very, very basic, simple. Take your typical concrete tile roof, give it a pressure wash, give it a biocide, and slap some coating on it. There's no getting round. It's painting a roof. Some folk try and differentiate the name coating, painting, etc. Blah blah. But roof renovation, if you want to give it its proper title, used to get called roof renovation. But we set up a company in Germany and they got taken to court for using the word by the big tile manufacturers because they didn't want us taking business away from them. So we've had a long-standing fight with tile manufacturers and people in the industry who are biased, whether the roof tile distributors, whether it's roofing contractors. We fell up with them all at every level in the building press, etc. But at the end of the day, if you use a good quality product and do a good quality job, then you're going to get a good quality result.
There's
And I know from experience that'll last 15 years or more.
there's a lot of friction between roofers and exterior cleaners, isn't there, when it comes to like pressure washing roofs? Is that
There is, and
justified?
in some respects it is, in that there's a lot of cowboys that go out with whatever pressure washer they've got, whether it's 25 litres a minute, 300 bar, knocking the shit out of an old tired roof that couldn't be washed anyway. There's a lot of bad work coming out there doing a lot of bad jobs. So I shouldn't say a lot really. It's not that are a minority, that are a very small minority of workmen out there that are fucking it up for the good guys. And the good guys get a bad reputation, and that reputation travels.
Well,
Uh,
those are always the ones that you hear about is when it goes wrong. And
yeah, of course. That's the thing is, we, I'm not going to go into any great depth on roof coatings tonight. There's 101 reasons why you can do it, and a few good ones why you can't. Like I say, if your roof's in good condition, relatively, if the structure's sound, if the tiles are sound, the battens are sound, there's no reason why you can't clean it and coat it. If the roof has rotten battens, rotten felt, if the tiles are really, really quite brittle um, or porous, then you're looking at a new roof regardless. It's not difficult to determine whether a roof's fit to renovate or not. Is a simple answer, I guess. It's not difficult to get up there, have a look, check inside the loft, check the condition of the batten.
is that a standard
Well,
practice? Because I had an issue recently where I cleaned a bungalow roof, I pressure washed it, and then the lady had me back. It was one of my videos recently. The lady had me back because she had a couple of wet patches in the loft. And when she went up there, some of the felt had been torn. And I had hundreds of comments from people saying there's no way you caused that damage because just the shape of the torn felt, it didn't look like anything that a pressure washer would have been able to do. It's penetrating through the tiles like that. No cracks in the tiles, no damage from the outside. All the mortar was in fantastic shape. Some people were saying you need to go up and do a pre-inspection, but is that realistic on every single job to go up before you clean the roof to pre-inspect?
depends what stage you're at. The simple answer is to um, any quotation that you give, you make it subject to survey. And then once you're past that stage, then you go up in the loft and then you take your video. It's the same on any job. As part of the training, we just can't stress enough to people is that you take a video, you take pictures, you take images, you make notes of all the defects, all the little problems on every job. We've got, yourself, you've got the pads that we use. You go out there and you document exactly what's wrong, and you get the customer to sign it. So you send it in an email and get them to confirm receipt of it. And you cover your arse, because I got caught out recently on it. It was a driveway clean for someone that I've done work for before in my own village, a couple of streets away. Know the wife really well. I didn't know the husband was going to turn into a fucking psychopath, an absolute obnoxious arsehole about part of the job. And we did have before and after pictures, but we didn't do the full normal inspection. We didn't do the full video. We just didn't think there was going to be a problem, and we got caught out because we didn't just follow basic standard procedure that you should be doing on every job. Even if you know someone, even if they're mates, just every job, document it, film it, check it out. Don't let someone else's damage, someone else's problem, or something that exists beforehand become your problem. I think going back to your particular case, it could well be that where the felt was torn, some water has got in between the tiles. Because this is the thing that you'll get. You get things like called negative pressure, that when rain's heavy on one side of the roof and you've got a bit of wind as well, it can cause a negative pressure where all that water's sucked up into the tile and starts slurping water up under the headlap, which is the overlap. And it depends if it's laid at the right pitch as well. That's one thing that a lot of folks don't understand, is that if the tiles don't have the correct headlap on them for the pitch that they're at, then you can get water penetration. And you're only going to know that if you get up there and lift one up and have a look.
And also, there was lots of previous repairs when we went up there afterwards to do our repairs. There was already loads of patches. So, I mean, we patched them up anyway and did our best, but I still don't think it was our fault.
No, I don't think that I don't think you've caused the damage to the felt. I think that's pre-existing. What it's done though is it's highlighted that there was a fault in the felt that would normally deal with the water that ingressed at the time.
Yeah.
But if you'd spotted it beforehand, you maybe would have arranged to get the felt changed, or you might have put something in place temporarily to deal with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lesson learned, and you can encounter issues there if you're doing things like dormer bungalows that have been converted where you can't get access into the loft space, etc. Um, but it's rare. It's very rare to get that kind of problem that you had, to be
Yeah.
honest.
And
And
it was
as I
like
say,
one of my first pressure washing jobs on a roof as well. So it really knocked the confidence out of me.
I get that, and it can do. And again, this is where if you can get some mentoring or training, it makes all the world of difference.
Yeah.
Um,
So
there's,
Dusty in the chat says, straight talking Scotsman is Mike, full of knowledge and very helpful. So, so for those of you that don't know, Mike helps out with the PureSeal approved applicator training courses. I've done module 1 and I've got my Bible to prove it. So anytime that I need to check how to prepare or clean a surface, which chemicals are safe on each surface, which sealers would be best, how to apply the sealer on that specific surface. It literally, these courses go through absolutely everything, and this isn't a sales pitch for PureSeal, but to be straight up and straight to the point, I'm affiliated with PureSeal, so I've got like a little affiliate link in the description where if you buy something through my link, I'll get a little bit of kickback. This chat isn't designed as an advert for PureSeal, but I thought who better to ask about chemicals than the chap that helps run the courses. Do you want to talk a little bit about what the courses do? Because I've only been on module 1, so I don't really know what the rest are all about.
yeah, I'm very, very humbled by them comments there. Yeah, basically, I do. Most of my time is spent with my cleaning business, New Tech Cleaning. So I'm on the tools, running the business. I've been in the game now. Actually, I was laughing with Jake last week. I've actually picked up my first pressure washer about 40 years ago now.
40 years.
40 years, you know. I've been saying 30 years for ages, and I forget that I had a job in a scrapyard working on trucks and processing metals and stuff when I was 13, and I was steam cleaning and pressure washing the trucks at 13, and I'd forgotten about that. And then when I moved up to Glasgow at 17, I started repairing machines and building machines for a friend of mine. That's how I got into the construction side of them. But yeah, I along with Chris Lawler is the big chief, along with his wife Angie at PureSeal. Wonderful couple that have done amazing things for the industry. Coming for a bit of flack, the company comes in for a bit of flack, but I'm not interested. It's not even a distraction for me. We see it all the time, and just not bothered by it. You know, I don't care.
Well, there's lots of competition, isn't there? There's lots of people trying to do a similar thing.
There's lots of bitches in the industry. There's lots of people who've got agendas. People who've got agendas against other people. People who just can't let a grudge go. People who are just downright nasty people. Just floats over me, mate. I see it all the time. The people that come on the courses, the people that we chat to, the people in our groups, mate. You know yourself. It's an amazing community.
It is, and it's also a competitive industry where there's lots of suppliers trying to do a similar thing, and you get people for whatever reason they like a product, and so everything else is suddenly shit, and you must buy this product because I like it. And it's like, no, that's not the way things work. There's multiple things out there that can do a similar thing, and there's no reason to. It's very cliquey for an industry that's full of grown men. You'd expect it to be less like schoolyardy, but
yeah,
I've never seen nothing like it.
I know, mate. I don't know what it's like in other industries. It might well be the same. I don't know, but there's a number of reasons that cause it. We'll not dwell on it. To be honest, a lot of people in the industry are harder thinking. And I'm being polite in that a lot of them are just harder thinking, and they can't use critical thinking in the decision making. They're not really approaching things in a business like way. So I get people take the wrong stick with me all the time. All the time, people take the wrong end of the stick. I offer advice on groups. I offer advice on groups a lot, and I'm not apologising for it. I don't care. You'll often see me chipping in when I see on a thread, in a post somewhere, that someone's given bad advice, and I often, if it's appropriate, will directly address that question. But more often you'll find me somewhere else in the comments making a comment that contradicts what they're saying, and I've not turned around and said, you're a prick. You're talking shite. Listen, you should be doing it this way. It's no point in doing that. It's not. Used to do that. Not interested. I'll make a comment. I'll put advice in there that I think is pertinent. I spam the group with the PureSeal products, but I'm not apologising for that either because I use these products day in day out. I use all the products that I recommend, and I use them because I know that they're best. I got involved with PureSeal on a consultancy basis. I just do the training. Primarily, I assist Chris with proofreading and stuff, but Chris is the brains behind this. Chris is what he's put into this, the energy and the love he's put into the business is phenomenal. I proofread his stuff and I add the paragraphs here and there and things, but it's Chris has produced the training. You know, it's between him and Angie on the admin side. What they've done is phenomenal, and that it's a transformer for the industry. If people can see it for what it is, critical thinking, guys. If you, I don't talk any of the holistic bullshit kind of crap. I don't care about Himalayan salts, anything like that, or business gurus. Doesn't float my boat. But I can say one thing that probably 30, 40, maybe 50% of the people in this group can improve their business on is just looking up critical thinking. Just look at the principles of critical thinking in the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis, whether it's how you talk to someone, how you approach a job, how you take advice from people. You know, don't be snippy. Someone offers you advice, don't be defensive. That's an immature reaction. Shit like that all comes down to critical thinking.
It's not being married to your opinions once you form them. It's about being open to
recognizing biases, including your own bias in decision making. So it's your own bias. It's like we look for bias in the comments that people are making. Where we look and we see the affiliations with other manufacturers, the fallouts in the past about training providers and all that malarkey, and 99% of it doesn't bother me. But it's just I'm not right to it anymore. I apply critical thinking. I see the people for what they're doing. Sometimes it's an emotional thing. Sometimes they're lashing out. But anybody sees my advice in the groups, I'm never out to belittle, put down someone unless they're an absolute arse.
No, from what I've seen, you're always very straight down the line, and you just say it how it is. I'm in a bit of a awkward. It's not an awkward situation, but it speaks to what you're saying when it comes to affiliations with. It's no secret that I'm quite close with a lot of different suppliers in the industry. And I've got no issues recommending those products because they're products that I do recommend, that I've had experience. I've ordered from these people, great customer service. I'm happy promoting these people, but it doesn't mean that I won't recommend products from other manufacturers or other suppliers. I've got to be very careful of my biases when I'm running a YouTube channel like this, when I'm trying to give honest advice to people, because if at any point people suspect that I'm overly promoting one brand or one supplier, then that could taint everything else that I'm trying to do with the channel.
I understand that, and going back to the affiliation side of it, I obviously can't speak for PureSeal, but I do know I'm involved in chats about things like this. But when you affiliate with other companies, you wouldn't affiliate with a bad one. And PureSeal affiliate with GVS, people like that as well. Yourself on the groups, we've wangled discounts with some suppliers and things, and Rutland Pumps, AC Pressure Washers, Jack Bowley, people like that we deal with and we work with in our business. Even HS Direct, we deal with these other companies, and there's always some benefit in these arrangements. But the primary reason for having them is the quality, it's the support, it's the network that's involved. We try and wangle discounts with other companies on behalf of people who are in our groups. We don't look to monetize our recommendations or relationships. We look to try and just develop relationships with people who we know are good suppliers, it's good building good engineers, good manufacturers, etc.
It's building up everyone else around you that are doing a good thing, and you don't have to be worried about. This is what I'm trying to do with the pressure washing side of things. Is I'm trying to build up other people around me that I know do good quality work, because it's gonna. I don't see anyone as competition for me, because I just don't think that way. And if you're looking at everyone as your competition, and you know, you're trying to suppress everyone around you, or you have a lot of people saying things about turf, like you're intruding on my turf and all this sort of stuff. I just think it's absolutely bonkers. There's no way to succeed in business. You want to make relationships with these people that are local to you, not try and trample on them.
Indeed, and I've had that recently, and it's I would say rare, but some guy actually did start that chatting shit to me about, on my turf, you took a customer off me. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's a window cleaner. We do facial soffits. We don't do window cleaning.
Yeah.
He'd approached one of my staff in the street and gave him a hard time, and I found him. I went out and I found him and had a word with him.
Yeah.
And I said, what the fuck's that all about? You know, it wasn't even one of his customers we took off, and it was a job that we had lined up, and he was just so insecure in his business.
That's what it is. It's insecurity, isn't it?
In the same area that we work in my village, another guy who's a gardener set up a pressure washing side to his business, and I sent him out a note on Messenger saying, welcome to the pressure washing world, mate. Give me a shout if you're ever stuck for any parts or a hose or something locally, or need a bit of advice. Maybe go for a coffee one day. That's my approach to people that are in business near me. Most of my competition, I don't have competition. I'll compete with anyone. Most of them I know, and many of them have come on the training. Same throughout Scotland. I don't know if any of the Scottish lads are here tonight. Hello.
I'm sure there is.
From all over the country, Isle of Man, but all over Scotland, and I knew a lot of them anyway. You know, we pass work to each other, and we network and stuff, and it's now there's enough work out there for everyone. If you think someone's causing you grief in the competition side of it, you should be looking more at yourself, not at them.
Yeah, definitely. Chris Green asks, do Biocide training have any links to PURESEAL? So I think it is a course ran by PURESEAL, but it's not a branded course. It's just a generic Biocide training course that you get a certificate at the end of.
Correct. Yeah, it's set up independently so that it can be used in any kind of scenario. Don't get me wrong, the actual training, the classroom training that we do is biased towards our products, but that's only when we get to the sealing stage, things like that. A lot of what we do in the classroom, as you know yourself, it's an hour and 3/4 of me chatting shit about risk assessments, method statements, COSH.
You're not selling it. You're not selling it very well, chatting shit.
I'm having a laugh, mate. I'm having a laugh. So yeah, you know, much of what we do in the classroom isn't product based, and it's not product branded based, especially when you get to module 2, when we start talking about acids. We don't talk about branded acids, we talk about the types of acids. It's a bit more in depth on the module 2.
Oh, is that in module 2? Because Smart Exterior just said, I was looking at doing the module 2 this year. How much more in depth is module 2 than module 1? And what does module 2 cover?
Right, well, we'll rewind to that in a second. The Biocide training, first of all, has been set up independently, and it's much more in depth than anything that we do on the classroom-based courses. We do a different track. We do enough of the Biocide and the chat about that to cover it, but this takes it to another level. I think it's 3.5 hours, and it's 14 different modules. You can skip in and out whenever you want. Literally, you can pick it up and put it down. You can
Is it an online course?
It's all online. I think it's 150 quid, and it does give you a certificate, but it's independent from PURESEAL brand, so as to be not brand biased. So we can, people from any industry can come and use it. But it's really, if you really want to crack the nut between hypo and bio and really get to terms of what's happening and drill down properly on it, definitely go for it. If you're not going to do any of the classroom courses, do the online bio just to get that knowledge. But I would say do both. Do the classroom based and the online bio course. The online bio course is brilliant value for money. But the key thing is it means that you have, and this is the key point that we can come and drill down on another one later if anyone wants to make a bookmark now. Information, instruction and training. If you're using professional user only products, professional grade products, then you need to have information, instruction and training in the use of that product. Okay, you also need to have your cost sheets, your data sheets. You need to have your personal protective equipment. You need to have the knowledge how to handle it safely from the second you take ownership of it to the second it gets used. Okay, and that includes the waste disposal. All these aspects you need to know. You can get that. You can get that competence required by law from doing the online biocide training course. And like I say, I think it's 150 quid. But yeah, module 2 is much more in depth with regards types of stone. In module 1 we do identification, cleaning and sealing of paving. So essentially we're doing tarmac, block paving, pattern imprinted concrete, natural sandstone, limestone, these kind of things, granite. We do look at those types of stone, and we do discuss different types of acids and ways of cleaning them in that scenario. But when you go onto the structure cleaning, we also include render. The big thing is everybody wants to be a render cleaner. Everyone wants to be out there doing rough cast. So that's in there. Timber decking structures, pergola, sanding, cleaning them is involved in module 2 as well. It's about an hour or two longer. You also get the nice big manual to take home as well. But yeah, it depends upon what you want to be doing. If you want to start with the simple stuff, if you're doing the patios, bang into module 1. It's right up your street.
Well, module 1 was the foundation that I didn't know I needed until I went on that course. And because I came into this industry under the misconception that I thought I could just pressure wash stuff and get good results. And I very quickly realized that that wasn't the case. I think for anyone who isn't using chemicals, not on every job, there are lots of jobs that you can get good results with water. But I think if anyone's not able or doesn't have the knowledge to use chemicals correctly, I don't think they're offering their customer a full level of service. Would you agree with that?
100%. I used to be of the philosophy of not using chemicals. It was, only if I had to. But I just find nowadays, I'm not disagreeing that you don't have to. There's nothing wrong with taking that philosophy. But if you want to give the deepest clean and the longest lasting clean, you're going to need to post-treat. And this is where, we can have another chat another night about pre-treat and post-treat.
We already had a question in the chat about that.
Well, we could go off on tangents like a cartwheelie. We could go everywhere on all sorts of chats, but we'll be better organised and do some different threads in the future, some different areas.
Yeah. So you'll if you're not using chemicals yet, you'll get to the point where you come across some sort of paving, some stone, where you'll clean it with water and it will barely make a difference. And I found that recently, actually, even more so than I expected with honed stone. It was a honed limestone.
Yeah. Oh, honed.
And I thought
you were going to say honed sandstone there.
Well, I've got honed sandstone to do on Wednesday. I'm driving down to London to clean some honed sandstone. We're still not sure whether it's sandstone or limestone, so we're going to do a little acid test. And then
you can normally tell once you look at it. Yeah, acid tests will always determine that it is limestone. But you look at sandstone and you won't get a honed limestone like you do a honed sandstone. You can see just looking at the granulation, and it's still some of the lighter stuff is really powdery smooth fine though. But yourself, it's the internal lichens, it's the giveaway a lot of the time with that stuff.
Can you speak on why honed stone is so much more difficult to clean than just, say you have normal Indian sandstone? Why is it as soon as they saw that flat that the lichens are able to absorb deeper?
I don't know why structure-wise it happens. I think, again, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole with this one, but it could be down to the capillary sizes with a finer grain sand that makes up the stone. You'd need to look at it under a microscope You need to be a bit more into geology than I am to work out why it does it.
So is that what's
But
happening? Ordinarily, the lichens would sit on top, but when it's honed
yeah,
flat,
like
it's able to absorb.
Yeah, you get different kinds of lichens, and they grow. You'll see them typically on roofs, big white and grey and green and yellow patches, and there's thousands of different types of lichen, and some of them are more stubborn than others. This is why, chemical-wise, if you are doing just pressure washing, you're going to need to learn to use sodium hypochlorite, bleach, in order to get a better finish, because your pressure washer will shift your whites, your greys, your greens, but it won't shift black lichen. That's where you need to come in with something like an oxidizer, a post clean stain removal with your black lichens, and you need to be able to use hypo safely. I think that was one of the questions that were pre-asked with regards chemical use was PPE, so we can touch on that as well if you want.
Yeah, let's do that now.
So again, if you're going to be handling chemicals, you need that information, instruction, and training in the safe use of it. So you're going to need to get the correct PPE. And the question I think was, what kind of PPE should you be using?
What would be the minimum requirement? I think the sensible minimum requirement to be using hypo.
Okay, well, we use different chemicals. Okay, so I'll not be specific about hypo at the moment, because it applies to pretty much all chemicals. In fact, the simple, straightforward answer is to go and look at the cost sheets, go and drill down on the data. As soon as you take a hold of that chemical, you need to have your cost sheets with that. So when I talk about duty of care and stewardship, things like that, as soon as you take delivery of that chemical, you need to keep it safe, and you need to keep anybody that uses it or is near it safe as well. So if you're having something that requires an eye wash, a chemical that requires an eye wash, you need an eye wash station where it's being stored, you need an eye wash station in the vehicle it's being transported in, and you need an eye wash station at the place of work. Okay, so you need to think of the whole journey of the chemical, because once you take ownership of it legally, that's when you need to be very careful in what you do. Okay, so again, go to your cost sheet, have a look, and see what the sheets say.
We had a bit of
what the symbols mean. Look at the type. So you're talking your very basics are going to be eye, hand, and skin protection. Okay, the key thing that people sometimes forget is that with hypo you need to be using a respirator. Now that isn't because of airborne droplets. It's not the little droplets that are floating around like mist that make the front of your baseball cap go all spotty. It's vapors. Okay, this is the key thing here, is that these respirators need an ABEC P3 filter, and that is for gases, vapors. Okay,
can you say that again? ABEC P3, did you say?
Yeah, it's easily found. If again, you might hear me chatting about people helping themselves if they want help. Go and search on respirator on a group on Facebook, see the answers, see who's answering them, and see what the consensus is. Consider the opinions that you've got, come to a conclusion, or ask a considered question on a group.
We had a bit of a horror story.
Left, right, and centre. Yeah, people pissed off left, right, and centre about those basic, stupid questions, and people are reluctant to help because they feel that people aren't helping themselves. If you help yourself and ask, I've been online, I've been on having a chat about respirators, I understand I need it for hypo. I've had a look on the group, but I can't work out what kind of filter it was again. Can anybody help me out? You're going to get a considered, polite answer to that. If you throw a question on a group saying, using bleach, what mask am I wearing?
Yeah.
Different response in it. Ask a considered question, you'll get a proper considered answer.
So we had a bit of horror story in the Discord chat the other day, where one of the lads, his mask was in the back of the van next to his hypo, and he didn't realise that it had leaked onto the strap of his mask, and he'd put the mask on, strapped it around the back of his head, and he's got chemical burns down the side of his neck now from the hypo.
Wow.
I wasn't sure whether does hypo, if you get neat hypo on your skin, does it will it burn straight away, or does it have to react with water before it becomes yeah, before that chemical reaction happens and before it becomes what's the word, active?
We'll drill down on a second. First alarm bell. I thought you were going to tell me about a fallout there at first. I didn't realize it was an accident. Um, the first thing is that your PPE, you need to store it safe. You need to keep your respirators in a nice big Tupperware box with a lid on it and keep it clamped nice and tight. You want your respirators themselves to be kept in an airtight container to prolong the life of them. If you want to be drilling down properly, you should be keeping a log of the hours that you're using your respirator on. This is the kind of things that you should be doing. It's great having the respirator, but as you've seen, there's an accident waiting to happen. This is the other end of the spectrum is just a simple pair of safety specs. If you put them down and they get broken, you haven't got them anymore. You haven't got that safety net there. Your gloves, if you rip them, you've got to take good care of your PPE. Replace it when necessary. Don't be shy of the cost of these things. They should be built into your quotes. This is why we don't go out cheap. We don't go out and do jobs for beer money. We do it to pay for the kit that we use, and we make sure that we buy the best of kit. We buy good quality PPE. Don't buy it on Wish, nowhere like that. There's some right shit out there. Buy quality kit. Have spares. Spare pairs of gloves, spare anything you need. Have spares.
This was one of the massive takeaways that I took from just some of the general conversations, because it's not just what you're learning on the PureSeal course, it's the people that you're able to chat to that you wouldn't normally have access to. And just chatting around the room, one of my biggest takeaways from that day was your costs should be built into your quotes, like you just said. And I hadn't even considered that before. I just thought, well, if you're going out and using the more expensive chemicals and the more expensive sealers, you're losing money. And that's just not the case, because it reflects your pricing and your customer pays for everything at the end of the day. And that hadn't clicked with me before.
Yeah, for some people, it's a confidence thing to jump up into to kind of really charge that. Am I going to be able to charge that? If you think about where you want to be in a couple of years' time, what it will cost you to be running a business with replacement machines, new vehicles, ongoing costs, increasing costs like accountancy, professional fees, lawyers, shit like that. If you have got 1 or 2 man band, you can probably be £20,000 in costs before you even pay a penny in wages. And you don't work every day of the week, you don't work every week of the year. You have unforeseen events in life that hold you back. So if anybody out there is going out charging 150, 200 quid a day, 250, 350, 450, 550, 650, don't stop thinking what you can be charging per day. And just remember, every job, if you want to do the most professional job that you can and get the best results possible, you're going to need to do it with the best of kit, including the best of chemicals, things like that cost money. Don't be shy of realizing that something's going to cost 200 quid in chemicals, 300 quid in chemicals. That's what it's going to take. When you look at it and you break it down into your average deck and patio clean, if you're using bleach on a patio clean, hypo on a patio clean, you're going to be less than 20 quid. Better surfactant in there. You could only be 10 quid in chemicals. It's washers. A decking clean, people have mentioned this a lot, and that the Deck Clean Pro, on the face of it, seems quite expensive, but the results you get are phenomenal.
I've seen the pictures; they're insane.
It's one of my favourite chemicals. I say I'm a PureSeal chemical user, and this was part of the attraction to me when I first teamed up with them years ago. I was doing import, distribution, and coatings, and I think initially it was a window cleaning exhibition. I was doing a vehicle coating at the time, and I met them then. I started using the products and getting to know the company more, and you develop a lot of the stuff in house. I'm not going to bother arguing about whether the back 50 is better than someone else's back 50, because it's all the same, same chemical from the same factory. I'm not going to bother arguing over whether back is better than DDAC. It's another chat for another night. With regards things like using biocides, you need to have, again, we can drill down on it, a product that's label compliant. It needs to be legal for what you're using it for. So if the buyer side isn't labelled up and registered for use as even for a roof, you shouldn't be using it on a roof. So that's what people mean when they talk about label compliance, is that you're using it at a purpose as it's described for.
Just before, sorry to interrupt, just before we move on, you touched on it briefly. Yeah. What's your opinion on people charging day rates? Very quickly.
Everything I do is by rate. I don't do anything by the square meter.
Do you not?
I haven't done anything by the square meter for 30 years. No. Nothing.
So that's interesting that you've just mentioned about essentially you said about there's no limit to your potential earning per day. You shouldn't be scared of charging what the job costs. So when you're looking at a day rate, you've obviously got your set figure in mind of what you want to earn. Do you add the chemicals on top of that then?
Absolutely. Every single job. Yeah. I need to differentiate between domestic and commercial work.
Okay.
And that you walk up to a driveway, you look at it and you know it's going to take 1 or 2 or 3 hours. And you know, looking at it, it's going to take 1.5, 2 bags of sand. And you know it's going to take £2 worth of hypo. The little things like that, I just look at day rates and I don't even try and measure it to work out exactly how much sand I'm going to do. I just know looking at it, it's 2, 3 bags, whatever. It's not a big cost in the issue. Where to really start drilling down and where it's important to check, double check, calculate again is when you're doing larger scale jobs. So for example, I've just done a big factory clean. I broke it down into each side into simple geometric shapes, work out the height of each part, look at the condition of each part. From the sizes, I can work out roughly what my costs are going to be for chemicals. I know how many litres I'm going to use per square metre, and that's based upon the growth, the environment, the surface I'm working on. That just comes from experience, knowing how much I'm going to use. But you can also refer to your manufacturer's guidelines, give you a rough figure. And again, if you ask a question in the group, I've got this warehouse to wash. I'm using Synergy Clean Pro on it. I reckon it's 8,000 square meters. What am I going to get? And if there's pictures there to support that, you can say you're going to get 8 square meters per litre approximately on that. And then you'll know exactly how much your chemical is going to cost you for the job. You know, give or take a few percent, you'll know what it's going to cost you. That cladding clean I done recently, one part was really quite unique. I've not seen it this bad. I don't think I've ever done one so bad. One elevation had layer upon layer of lichen. Again, if anybody wants to search on Facebook, my business is New Tech Cleaning. I think we're going to put some links up as well through the night.
Did you post about that one recently then?
Yeah, I just finished it at the end of last week. So we hit it with biocide first of all. We scrubbed biocide, soaked the lichen with biocide about 2 weeks before we went in for the second part. And because it killed it off, it started to break it up, physically started to structurally break up. So it made it easier when we went in the second time.
How are you
more in depth?
How are you applying biocide on an area that big?
Water-fed pole, Dosatron. I absolutely love Dosatrons.
Dosatron.
So many reasons. Oh God, for so many reasons, I use Dosatrons as much as I possibly can. Yeah.
And PURESEAL have just created a what's it called?
At the back, it's a not Godzilla. It'll come back to me.
I can't remember.
Bulldozer.
That was it.
Yeah, Bulldozer. It's a Dosatron. A Dosatron is a chemical metering and measuring device. It's just something that is beautiful in its simplicity, and it doesn't need an engine to drive it. It doesn't need a pump. It doesn't need solar power. It doesn't need jack shit. It just runs off the water pressure.
No pump.
No, there's nothing. You put water in one side, you put your chemical in the other, and then the mix comes out the other side.
So it's measuring the flow of water coming into it, and then it mixes based on that.
It's just a mechanical thing. It uses the water pressure to power the diaphragm, and it just squirts the right amount of chemical into the outlet. A bigger dosatron,
Ah,
the hypo one, can do with a bit of a boost sometimes. I mean, most of my work's done off a fire hydrant, off a standpipe, so I don't need to worry about the pressure. But the biocide dosatron, the bulldozer, that doesn't need a pump. That doesn't need any kind of assistance because the smaller ones don't sap any energy. These machines, they power themselves through the water pressure, and that can sap the energy, which is bad on the hypo one, but not on
I
the bulldozer.
I didn't realize that. So from the dosatrons that I've seen in the past, it looked to me like there was a little screen where you'd change the dilution ratio on a little LCD screen or whatever with buttons. So with this one, do you spin a
No,
cap or something? How does it
that's
work?
that the one with buttons and a digital screen is more likely to be battery based, like a window cleaning
Like a
style
12
pump
volt pump.
system. Yeah, that's all. That's all they are. These don't have anything. They've got a screw thread on the bottom. At the bottom of the dosatron, there's a threaded part, and you just simply turn it. There's graduations on it for ratios and percentages.
Right.
So you simply screw that, and then out the other side comes the biocide. Perfect for roofs, perfect for walls, even putting it on and doing a patio. I don't use any other equipment at all for applying biocide than my Rosatron.
And so what would be the dilution ratio? Oh, I think I can see here. 0.8 to 5%.
Yeah,
So would this one
um,
be for hypo?
no, it's that those ratios there. You're typically using if you're doing a roof with back 50, for example, you'll be going in at 19 to 1, up to maybe 24 to 1, 25 to 1. If it's pressure washed, we'll not get hung up on it tonight, but it's not just about the strength of the chemical, it's also about how much you put down.
Yeah.
So you can get less of an effect by putting strong biocide on thinly than a weaker biocide on thickly. It's how much
Uh,
is there when it evaporates. You can do 8 meters squared per liter on a tile, or 2 meters squared, 3 meters squared on a tile. And again, you've got to vary that depending on your weather. The warmer it is, the weaker you want to be to keep it wetter for longer. But that's a whole other thread again.
yeah. John Summers says, I thought it's illegal to use water from a hydrant.
No, it's not in Scotland. We don't have what's called washouts that they have in England. So if you're in England, I don't know about Wales, then you use what's called a washout. Same idea as a hydrant. Don't know why they have this system. But in Scotland, we can use any fire hydrant.
So a hydrant is different to a standpipe as well.
Standpipe is what you fit to it.
Right.
Standpipe is what you use to connect onto the hydrant. Hydrants and a washout have both got the same male thread under the ground. Your standpipe down there, there'll be have meters on them as well. It's a criminal offence as well. If anybody starts pissing about with these things, I know people have been prosecuted for using illegal standpipes. It's just not worth it. Again, you price it into the job. Mine, Scottish water, mine cost me 660 quid a year, including the VAT, I think. But I use it all the time. I use it every week. I use it sometimes 2, 3 times a week.
Yeah, you
I
can.
used it every day for the last 8 days in that job.
So you hire them. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
do they have like a meter on them where it tells you how much water you've used, and then that you charge based on
Not not in Scotland. We no shortage of the stuff.
that?
The ones in England, yeah, you do pay by the cubic meter, but I don't think it's expensive.
And does it cover like a wide area? Is it you can use your standpipe in all of Scotland, or is it only certain areas?
Yeah, Scotland's unique in that it doesn't have private water companies. We have the inept Scottish government looking after water. Um, so it's nationwide. We can use it from Gretna up to very north.
Right. Let's have a look. See if there's any questions in the chat that we can jump onto. If you're using them ones, you shouldn't feel it on your lungs. I mean, when it comes to biocide, there has been times, even with my respirator on, in the past where I've come away with a little bit of a headache, and I'm thinking, is that because of the biocide or? But I mean, it's all very nasty stuff.
It shouldn't be. Biocide doesn't give you issues with vapors like hypo does. So, for example, if you were to spray biocide on walls in a basement, in a confined area, and took your respirator off, you wouldn't feel or smell anything. You might smell the biocide, but you wouldn't get anything else. If you did the same with hypo, took your respirator off, you'd know about it, you'd feel it. The vapors there that are coming off. With biocide, it's just water that evaporates.
Right.
With your hypo, when hypo reacts with something organic, the gases that are given off are what the problem is.
Right.
It's the vapors that are given off when you have that reaction.
So
you don't get that with biocide.
So I've been
Technically, hypo is a biocide, but we just, for simplicity in this industry, hypo is bleach and biocide is quaternary ammonium compounds. So people can be pedantic over it, but hypo is a biocide. But typically in the industry, when we talk about a biocide, we mean a quaternary ammonium compound, which is either DDAC or BAC50 typically.
So I was under the misconception then that as long as you're not atomizing the hypo through something like an X-jet, then I wasn't going to say that it's not as bad, but say for example, if you're how do I put it?
If you're breathing in droplets, physical droplets, if you're getting spots on your clothing and you're breathing droplets in, they can in themselves land on the skin, like your mucous membrane in the nose and in the throat, and they can burn. If they get as far down as the lungs, they can scar as well. And when you start getting lots of scarring on your lungs and you get emphysema and shit like that, you know about it.
So if, for example,
the vapors themselves can be a problem. This is why I think we got onto this from cost sheets. So always refer, when it comes to PPE for the job that you're doing, get your cost sheets, have a look, see what you need. While we're on cost sheets, before we go away from it, you have to have them. Like I said earlier about when you take custody of a chemical, when you take ownership of it, you need to have all that safety data available where it's stored, when it's transported, and when you're on the job. So you can't have it all in the folder in the van. And the van leaves site with the chemicals on it. If you're still carrying the chemicals in the van and you've got chemicals on site, you need to leave the sheets in both places. And the reason for this is for safety. It's for a lot of the guys that come on the train and the firemen. And feedback we get is always the same. It's there for the emergency services. If the van rolls over and there's chemicals sloshing on the back, they need to know as fast as possible what it is. If you're injured by the chemical or somebody else is injured by the chemical, those sheets need to go with the injured person to hospital. You need to have them there to know what to do in the event of an accident. You need to know what first aid measures you need to take. This is all basic shit you should be doing before you even buy chemicals, is to understand these so that you don't get caught out.
Yeah. So just going back slightly, so are you saying that if I'm using like a bucket and brush to apply like a pre-mixed hypo, that is just as dangerous in terms of the fumes and the vapor that comes off from the reaction with organic growth, just as dangerous as it is with using an X-jet, for example?
Yeah, because you're still getting the two dangers there, which I think I touched on a minute ago. There's the actual physical droplets that will scar and burn.
Yeah.
Then there's the chemical vapors themselves that will burn. And this isn't just hypo. Okay, if you're going to be dealing it with other chemicals, and people will recommend these, you will see them being discussed in the groups. You're going to be using things like, for example, hydrochloric acid and hydrofluoric acid especially. You're going to need to be really up to speed with these things, and you really are going to have to wear your respirators. There's a case we learned of recently that we discussed in the training of a lady that managed to get hydrofluoric acid burns to her lungs through picking up a container that didn't have a lid on. She picked up a container, 25-litre container, and put it down on the ground with a head above it, and as it did, it panted, the sides of the drum panted, and it blew up a puff of the hydrofluoric acid vapor into her face, and she was into hospital on a ventilator, sedated for days. it burnt the throat and the lungs. So you've really got to drill down on your PPE.
Yeah. Mike says adding hypo mixed along with synergy cannot be used again. Can we? What does that say? Can we ask Mike why? Completely forgotten my course. Adding hypo mixed along with synergy cannot be used again.
Don't quite get the gist on that, but the thing is with mixing chemicals is you need to have cost sheets for the individual chemicals, and if you create a new chemical, then you need to create a new cost sheet for it. Now, as you know, with the training, we do give people templates. They can be amended and made up, but we've also got, essentially now we've got the new hypo range, which is your basic hypo. You've got your nuclear and you've got nuclear fallout. Now, the nuclear fallout is full strength hypo with other chemicals. I mean, kind of things you're putting into hypo, your surfactants, your performance boosters, essentially. And the different surfactants do different things. Some of them help them cling, some penetrate. There's different chemicals do different things. And synergy and hypo seem to just go exceptionally well. 1 or 2 liters of synergy in a full bottle of hypo seems to be very effective on many different surfaces.
Yeah, can confirm.
Down. But the key thing is that with the new range, things like the nuclear and the nuclear fallout, is that they're ready-made, ready-mixed, and you've got the cost sheets there for them. The nuclear fallout is been a slow burner, but it's getting a lot more traction now because of one of the key ingredients in it is proven exceptionally good at cleaning lichens from patios, really stubborn ones that hypo wouldn't normally shift.
So what's the benefit of adding surfactant? And obviously the nuclear range already has the surfactant, the scent masks, the wetting agents, all that's pre-mixed. But for people who are just starting out, they get told they need to use hypo, and then they use it, farmyard hypo, whatever they end up using, and they find that it doesn't work so well. What's the benefit of having surfactant added to it?
The first thing I'll say is if people are buying dairy hypo, if you're not using it for washing cows' tits, you're breaking the law.
Washing cows' tits.
It's labeled. It's labelled up. It's labelled up as dairy hypo for use in dairies. That's what we talk about when we say label compliance. Something that's cropped up a lot lately as well is that you now need photo ID for picking up these chemicals. That was another question that was asked as well about photo ID. We'll come back to that again. But surfactants perform different functions depending upon which application they're being used. One of the key things with hypo, again, I don't want to drill down too much on it. One of the key things with hypo is evaporation. So stronger mixes, even at lower temperatures where water wouldn't normally readily evaporate, hypo can evaporate too fast. So some surfactants slow that down, which means it can work longer on the surface. Biocide can keep on working once it dries, hypo can't. The second hypo is dry, bang, game over. So if it dries too fast, you're not going to get the effect you're looking for. But the idea of a surfactant as well sometimes is to stop a chemical from penetrating into a surface. So if you want to have an acid, for example, that works only on the surface of a stone, you wet the stone first of all, fill the pores full of water so it doesn't migrate into the stone, but you're using chemicals with surfactants in that are going to stop that penetration. So surfactants, different types of surfactants do different things, but essentially the thing to remember is it's a performance booster.
So for those surfaces where the organic staining or the efflorescence, for those surfaces where the problem area is on the surface of the stone or the brick, by pre-wetting that surface, you're avoiding having the chemical absorb too deeply into the surface and essentially be wasted. Is that right? So with the surfactant, it keeps it where it needs to be.
Oh, two things there. The pre-wetting is more about stopping the chemical from penetrating into the surface. You don't want the chemical going in. If, for example, you're using an acid and it migrates into the stone, you can cause damage, you can melt the stone, you can excite iron, you can get orange iron ore stains coming out, you can get efflorescence. And sometimes it can take years. You can put acid on, and then boom, a year later, the efflorescence comes out because you start putting acids on stone, you can travel and just keep on going. I mean, we've got examples of stones we use in training, and each time we pull them out of the box, they're in a worse condition because the acid just keeps on traveling through it.
Yeah.
So you need to be very careful with those kind of things.
Am I missing a trick when it comes to acid washing? Because the 3 or 4 times where I've attempted to wash efflorescence, like you say, I'm pre-wetting the stone and the brick, and I treat it with acid, hydrochloric acid, and then I pressure wash lightly, low pressure, and then it looks amazing on the day while it's still wet. It looks fantastic, and then you come back a day or two later, and it looks exactly the same as it did before. What am I missing there?
Well, we'll come back to technique, but sometimes you can be premature in trying to take it off. I've got friends with new builds who are like, "Oh, come and get my acid off. Come and sort my efflorescence on the wall mat. Give it another year or two, and we'll see if it needs it." So pressure washing isn't good. Just rinse off with a hose pipe. If you do need to pressure wash, if it's something else you're trying to shift as well, again, you can't pre-wet and you can't dilute enough. Always start weak. Again, with any kind of chemical, whether it's an acid or a detergent, start weak, work your way up, do your samples, do your tests. Again, when we talked earlier about pricing jobs, if you're not sure what kind of strength you're going to need, if you're not sure how long it's going to take, do a little bit of it, take on a representative area, time it, measure it, work out how long it's going to take. As long as you can do it, as long as the client's happy with that.
Yeah, I think
you'll soon learn.
Preparation's key, isn't it? Because I've been in that situation before where it's I've avoided going in a little bit weaker through fear of just wasting chemical. So I'd prefer to do a stronger mix. But like you say, if you're doing a stronger mix in the first place and it doesn't need it, you're wasting chemical anyway, the majority of the time. So if you've got time and if you can be a bit more prepared, it's better to do those little test patches, and you're potentially going to save yourself a lot of time and a lot of chemicals in the long run.
Yeah, and the thing as well is you need to be dynamic with your approach. I mean, that big factory that we'd scheduled for altering cherry jacket to come in, but after all the rain we had, it was like a quagmire. Couldn't have got it in. So we ended up doing some of the more difficult areas from the ground. But it's adapt and overcome. It's change your technique, change your strength, change when you do it when it's raining, do it when it's sunny. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and the way you go into a job one day could be completely different to the way you go into the same job in the same area another day. But that'll come with knowledge. That kind of knowledge comes with experience, where you'll understand when and how to change. But again, we try and impart as much of that as we can in the training, especially with module 2. It's about how there's more than one way to skin a cat, and if someone does something differently to you in a group, don't automatically criticise them. There might be a good reason why they've done that. There's different chemicals that will achieve the same result in different ways. There's different techniques that will achieve the same result in different ways. It just depends on the dynamics of the job on that day. So never be ashamed to change your mind on a technique or a chemical.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about your favourite, the only way you now apply biocide is through the dosatron. Have you got a different method for applying hypo and other chemicals?
Typically I'll use the dosatron for hypo, but if we're doing a small patch, out comes the plastic watering can.
Really?
Or a gardener backpack. I've also got a Clark pump, electric pump. So if I've got a tank, something like that, I can set it up and I can pressurize it that way. I've also got a roller pump, like an engine driven pump. If I'm needing a tank and I'm using bigger volumes, because the thing with bigger jobs and bigger volumes is it's not the chemical that's going on that is consuming, it's the rinsing. You're often going to put on 5 to 6 times as much water rinsing as you do when you're putting the chemical on, especially if you're doing something like cladding, detergent, washing, that kind of thing. So it's good to be able to have, say, for example, you put a T-piece in and I can run my dosatron on one side and I can use my roller pump 25 litres a minute rinsing down on the other.
Yeah.
But when it comes to biocide, I could use all of those systems with the biocide as well, but dosatron, the wee one, doesn't sap any power out, and it's good enough. I don't have any kind of size of jobs whereby a normal garden watering head on it wouldn't be enough. I mean, people do use X-Jets for biocide, but I think it's a bit crazy. I think X-Jets are a bit yeehaw. They're rarely the best way of doing it. They are often the quickest way, but they're rarely the best way.
I've just put a chemical pump in my gardener backpack after my old pump that wasn't supposed to be used with chemicals. That failed, so I've just got a new one that's got the Viton seals and all that sort of stuff. And I still maintain that it's not terribly quick, but it's a very, very good way of applying chemicals when you're first starting out in like a very controlled manner.
Yeah, the rheostat on it, being able to control the flow, is very good, but you'll find typically you'll be using it full chat, flat out. But they're very good for touching, and they're very good for small jobs. I've seen a few recently where people have put up just a picture of a chimney. It's just a chimney that they wanted to get treated. Why would you, unless you've got, say, if you've got a big van mount system where you've got your dosatrons and your pumps and everything set up in your van, which maybe 5%, 4%, 3% of people have, you can't beat it, the ability to be able to do what's called a batch mix. You talk about proportional mixing, batch mixing. Essentially, a gardener backpack is a batch mix. You're mixing it up, you're putting the water in, you've got your measuring jug, you're putting your chemical in. So that's a batch mix. But they're beautifully simple and handy, and they charge easily, and you can use them for so many other things. I use my backpack with Synergy in all the time for cleaning the fascias, soffits and gutters. All the time, every other day, we went out doing fascias and soffits, and the backpack all the way. One litre of Synergy and a backpack full of water, and off we go.
Yeah. Do you know roughly how long you can expect hypo to last once you've batch mixed it? Once you've added water, roughly how long are we talking before it starts to severely weaken?
The stronger it is, the quicker it declines.
Really?
So it'll, yeah. It's about the gassing off. It's about the hypochlorous acid coming off it. This is why you've got to be aware of the vapours. Watch where you're storing it. If you're storing hypo constantly in the back of your van, anything in there that's got any bit of exposed steel in it will rust because of the vapours.
Same as hydrochloric acid, isn't it?
Yeah. Again, the acids. The thing with hydrochloric is though it should be in a container whereby the vapours can't escape.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with hypo, the lids on the hypo drums are vented lids, so the vapours do escape. Because that's one thing, is that as hypo degrades, as it loses its strength, it gasses off, and those vapours go in your van and they rust every bit of metal you can find. But it's a kind of an exponential curve. I mean, that it drops off at the start rather rapidly, and then as it gets weaker, the deterioration slows. But there's never any hypo that's not any good. You just makes it stronger. If it's a year old, and you might have used it last year at 4-1, use it this year at 2-1. Very worst case scenario, use it neat. Unless you're buying it in bulk and not using it, don't worry about it going out of date because you'll use it often enough. Just don't stockpile before winter unless you've got good jobs for it.
Okay. And how, sorry if I keep interrupting, by the way, there is a very slight delay, and I'm conscious that when I think you're finished talking, I start talking and then I realise you haven't quite finished. So that's just a little delay on the stream. Sorry about that.
Okay.
And so I've lost my train of thought now. When it comes to storing hypo, is there any do's and don'ts when it comes to temperatures or sunlight, or what should we be doing really?
Yeah, that's you've just nailed it on the head with those two. Is to keep them out of direct sunlight and keep them as cool as possible. Those two things encourage the degradation. So that's why hypo comes in black drums to keep the UV out, and just keep them somewhere cool. But like I say, that will only accelerate the degradation. But just keep buying it regularly. You
Okay.
know, there's nobody out there that sells stale hypo. I mean, they go through so much of it. It often comes in one door and goes out the other.
Yeah.
So it's not. I wouldn't get too hung up on hypo going out of date. It's not an expensive chemical, and you're going to use it anyway.
What about if it drops below, say, for example, I store my hypo outside because I've no room in the shed, no room in the van. I only buy it 2 or 3 barrels at a time, and so I store it down the side of my shed. If it drops below freezing temperatures, is that gonna ruin the hypo?
No, if you've got anything like surfactants in it, if you've got ready mixed products that might have anything water based in it, beware. But no, it's salty water. No, it won't. It won't. I generally in the winter I keep all my chemicals in one spot. It depends whether if it's in my warehouse, for example, and I had IBCs, I'd be wrapping them double tarpaulin wrapped with the electric radiator in the middle, but on a very very low setting. In the back of my van, I just put all my chemicals together and I put a tarpaulin and I'm getting a little oil filled radiator in it. Um, get to the job with a client and plug your radiator in all day long on high with all your chemicals wrapped around it, and you won't need to plug it into your own electricity at night.
That's a good idea.
Cheeky trick.
That's a good idea. Conrad says I got some hypo from PureSeal and it came in clear drums, and I've heard a few of these over the last couple of weeks, but I think they're only the 5 litre drums, aren't they? They're not necessarily the 20 litre or 25 litre ones.
I don't know. That's the first I've heard of it. As I say, I don't work directly in the factory.
I know.
I do talk a lot with Chris most days, but we don't discuss operational matters like that.
I wonder if it's because they're expecting it to be used fairly quickly. If it's in a little 5 litre tub, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I know there's often issues with supply. There's all sorts of crazy taxes. Plastic taxes were put on. There's problems with supplies of certain caps and lids and manufacturers. The market's in a bit of a mess, to be honest. So it could well be that was all that was available.
Yeah.
But if you're keeping it somewhere dark, it won't matter. If you, that would be an issue if, for example, you had a storeroom with a window and it was in direct sunlight. You know, you're not going to have a problem if it's in the back of your van or if it's in a garage or a shed.
Yeah, cool. I'm conscious that we've had you here for an hour and a half now. How are you doing for time?
I'm all right. I'm tired. I've got a few things. I need to pack my bags. I'm away teaching tomorrow. I'm off to Sunny Crew.
Are you doing a course?
Yeah, but I've got module 1 the next couple of days. Module 2 at the end of the month. Courses do book very fast, so if anybody wants to get on them, they'll need to move. We've got some dates coming up. So if I look at my calendar, March, April, May the 29th and the 30th, June the 19th and the 20th, July 10th, 11th, 23rd and 24th, and August 14th, 15th. But they're all on the page. If you go to the Facebook website, just look up training. All the dates are there.
Again,
any queries, any questions, just drop an email in.
Yeah, if you're going to purchase any of these courses or chemicals or products that you've seen tonight, please go through my link in the description. That would be very helpful. Thank you. Prompt Peak says, PURESEAL, about to use for a customer when it's dry. Gave it a clean a few weeks ago. The more I wait, the dirtier it gets. Do I give it another quick jet pass, then apply a PURESEAL the next day? How dry should it be?
Depends upon what you mean by dirty. I mean, if it was a path coming off a football pitch, it was used every day, you'd need to clean it every day. If it's just a patio, say that pollen, leaves, flowers, things like that can be problematic. Foot traffic bringing mud or soil the kind of things you need to watch out for. It may not need the cleaning. The weather's been shit. It's been a difficult start
Yeah,
to the
that's
year. The thing is, people kind of forget that we're still in spring, early to mid spring. We're not in summer yet, so don't give up hope. Don't throw the dummy out just yet. We're getting better weather, but it just depends upon what's there. You never want to seal anything in that you're gonna want to get out later. Don't seal over lichens. Don't seal over muddy boot prints. Um, don't seal over stains, tannin stains from leaves, things like that.
my
Oil
main
from barbecue.
my main concern with block paving, when I'm due to seal it, is trying to get back in good time to resand and seal it after I've cleaned it, because sometimes if you just got a shit run of weather, there's a chance that those weeds are going to start popping back up before you get a chance to get back and seal. How long would you I know it's different for every area depending on overhanging foliage, depending on how much was there before. How long would you say is best practice to leave it?
Best practice is to not even consider washing it until you know 3 to 4 days later, 2 to 3 days later, depending on the environment, that you're going to be able to seal it. That's the
Right.
best practice. What you can get away with depends upon all the environmental factors, such as the overhanging trees, the traffic it encounters, that kind of thing. So you need to just balance each one up. Just for me, it's still a bit early for sealing. Some guys have started. I'll be waiting a few more weeks, to be honest. Mainly because I've got a massive block of flats to do. I've just finished that big factory, and next up I've got an enormous block of flats up in Perth. So that's my next big job, and then I'll worry about sealing jobs after that.
So I couldn't get a definitive answer on this a while back when I asked, but the water-based acrylic seal, is it less prone to blooming if the surface is? I know with like concrete sealer and stuff, if there's any moisture under the surface, that moisture's gonna come up through and it's gonna cause the sealer to turn white. Is that such an issue with water-based sealer?
No, no. This is the thing: is that there's a few dinosaurs out there who will always turn around and say, "I don't seal. Sealing's shit. It always fails. Not interested." Now, maybe it did for them when they did it 10, 20 years ago. Maybe they had a bad experience because they didn't follow the instructions on the can. Maybe they just didn't know what they were doing. Maybe they had bad luck. Modern sealers, and this is one thing that people don't understand, is that the modern water-based sealers that PURESEAL manufacture are much, much less liable to any kind of failure that you're going to get with xylene solvent-based sealers, which is why we have the stricter guidelines with regards to moisture content, things like that. So if you're new, if you're unsure, you can always try the water-based sealers. If you're working towards the end or the start of the year, when the weather's a bit challenging, use the water-based sealers. You don't get the same performance with regards to the block paving sealers.
In terms of longevity?
Yeah, but it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good. I used it on mine when it was new a couple of years ago, and it still looks good. I might do it this year, I might do it next year. But the water-based sealers are far more advanced. And the key thing with the training is we teach you how not to have them balls ups, how not to have the problems with the blooming, the repairs and things. You know, we teach people the whole practice from start to finish. So it's the pressure washing, the chemical treatments, everyday stain removal. That's one thing that we haven't touched on tonight. We mentioned smelly gel, but one thing on the course as well is that the everyday stain removal, which is things like your oil stains, your cement stains, the kind of things you encounter. So we discussed that as well. So being able to recognize the type of stone you're dealing with, being able to deal with the organic growths and the other staining that you see, being able to select the correct sealer and install it properly is what we try and teach in module 1. It's all there.
And a very powerful thing that I only noticed this year on the website is if you go onto the shop and then scroll down, there's categories on the right hand side, I think if you're on a phone, it's right at the bottom of the screen. But if you're on a desktop, all these categories on the right hand side, you can search for specific surfaces for stain removal, for which chemicals are safe on those surfaces, and for sealing as well. So say for example, I'm looking for limestone. You can look on the side here and it says limestone stain treatments, and so there straight away you've got access to all the products that are safe to use on limestone, and they all do different things. And so for example, if you've got rust stains on limestone, you want to make sure the products that you're using are safe on that surface. So smelly gel.
I guarantee if somebody goes now and asks on one of the groups about removing rust from limestone, I bet you someone will pop up and say hydrochloric acid, because they've heard of it being used on a rust stain before, but that may have been used on a concrete slab. But if you put that on a limestone slab, you're going to destroy it.
Yeah.
Put it on travertine, marble, you'll absolutely destroy it. You put that on sandstone, you go back in a week's time, it'll be bright orange. So it's key knowing what your surface is and knowing what you can and can't use on it. And like you say, having that selector is a great tool. One other thing we've introduced in the last year, quite recently actually, is that the prices of the sealers and the chemicals are no longer visible to the public. PURESEAL have become trade only. So when you are going out and explaining to people that you are using the best available sealers that there are, this is the training that I've done, and this is my certificate, and this is my manual, and I know what I'm doing. They can't go and check up on what you're using, and they can't work out what your material costs are. And not a lot of people do that, but it's good to know that people can't do that. You know that they can't. Oh, hold on, but I've been on that company that you use. I've been on their site, and it's given me a coverage of this per litre, and I reckon that on that driveway there should be 700 quid in sealer, but you're charging me 7,000 for the job.
Yeah.
No, that can't happen. It's trade only. Someone asked a question, and I'm going to bugger off in a minute because I still haven't packed my bag.
Yeah, no worries.
What was the question pertinent to? Let me just go on my phone, because you sent me a short list not that long ago, and there was a couple that I wanted to answer because people had asked the question.
Yeah, no problem.
Again, next time we'll maybe pick a specific field or something, and we can get some more questions. I'll just go into Messenger, bear with me.
Yeah, sure, no worries.
Sorry if I've droned on everyone.
No, you haven't. You've been very helpful, I'm sure.
Right.
Shark Cleaning says, thanks for all the information. Do you supply to Ireland, Dublin?
Yes, we do supply to Ireland, yeah. ID. Someone asked about ID. Now, it's a legal requirement. Chemicals that we're dealing with, professional user only chemicals, of the type that we're typically using. You're talking about your acids and your alkalis that come under things like the Chemical Weapons Act, and the precursors, explosives, regulations and shit like that, and they're clamping right down on it because people are throwing acid about at each other as weapons. There's talks about DNA in acids now, that they can make it traceable back to the manufacturer, distributor, etc. So there's a legal chain of custody now with regards to these chemicals. So ID is a legal requirement, and that includes if you go and buy a dairy hypo from your local farm shop, they should be asking you for photo ID. If you're buying stuff online and they're not asking for photo ID, they're operating illegally. There's so many fly people out there knocking out chemicals. Some people don't give a shit. That's fine if you're not bothered about insurance, but I'm not going there tonight.
So if a chemical supplier isn't asking you for ID when you're purchasing it, did you just say they're operating illegally?
Yeah, if it comes under the Chemicals Weapons Act, etc., your acids and your alkalis, so your hydrochloric acid, hydrofluoric acid, bleach, virtually all of the cleaning chemicals, all peroxides, things like that, that all come under the Chemical Weapons Act. One of the things that we teach as well is the safe custody. I mentioned it earlier, that from the second you take delivery of that to the second that you use it, you've got to keep it safe. If you leave your van open and a kid jumps in the back, grabs some hydrochloric acid and throws it over his mate for a laugh, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
You've got to take the security and the safety of your chemicals. They're in your custody. You're the custodian of it. You've got a legal responsibility to ensure that anybody that goes near it knows what they're doing with it. They're operating safely and legally. It might sound like a minefield, but it's not, and it's this kind of good practice you should be getting into from the very start. start right and you can only go upwards from there.
Yeah. Rick says, based on what I've heard tonight, I will be definitely signing up for a course. Thank you for your time and knowledge. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. Very kind words.
Make
I say
sure
I'm not here on the sales pitch. I don't comment on the groups. I do spam a little bit when I'm recommending products, but again, I don't recommend products that I wouldn't use myself. But yeah, thanks for that, Rick.
Did you say there was another one in the pre-asked questions that you wanted to touch on? Or was that
let me see. I don't think there was.
Okay. Rick, make sure you use my link in the description, please, mate. That'd be very helpful.
Yeah, sorry, I got that wrong earlier. So next time we discuss the HSC one. If most important links tonight obviously are going to be biocide training. I can't recommend it enough. It's cheap. It gets you into the industry properly, professionally. It takes the knowledge of biocide up a gear. You know, it really is the best investment you can make. For 150 quid, it's a no-brainer, and it gives you the first quality certificates if you're looking for them. And then if you put the link up again to the training page,
yes,
you see there the module 1 and module 2. You don't have to do them in any order. You don't have to do both of them. You can do one, both, either or. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about what order they're in. Depends really what your core business is or what you want to do. The other question was the difference between acrylic seal and Screwfix no nonsense sealer. Again, two things with sealers. It comes down to the quality and the quantity of the ingredients. So a lot of cheap sealers are low solids content, they're quite thin, or they'll have cheap nasty resins in them. So quality and quantity is the difference there. So cheap shitty no nonsense stuff won't last.
So I think this was one of my questions actually, because there are lots of products that you can find in local branches, for example. Like one I used recently, I tried the Screwfix jointing compound. And there's all sorts of hydrochloric acids. There's locally sourced hypo. There's so many different products on the market, and there are cheap versions and there are expensive versions. Not to say, I'm not saying that PURESEAL is on any particular side of that spectrum, but is there a clear benefit in spending more on these chemicals and sealers? You mentioned earlier that the biocide is generally all made in the same sort of factory, and generally biocide across the board is pretty consistent on pricing. Everyone's charging around about the same for biocide, but that's not the case with sealers in particular, and everything I've just mentioned.
Well, split, as you mentioned, split the two into chemicals and sealers. So your chemicals are often the same. Some people are drop shipping from other manufacturers. Some people manufacture their own. Everybody buys in the biocide. The difference with regard to biocides is more to do with being legally compliant, being safe. You're only talking pennies. I think I worked out on one course the difference between buying someone who's drop shipping chemicals in Manchester and not registering the biocide. The difference between buying that and buying new PURESEAL's back 50, which is registered for roofs and is legal, was less than half a penny per square metre on a roof. So if the difference is only half a pence per square metre to be legally compliant and safe, there's nothing in it financially. But the key thing, apart from being compliant and legally safe, is that you've also got that network, that backup, that support that comes with buying from a recognised manufacturer, which is why we affiliate ourselves with people like Roland Pumps, GVS,
because
pressure washers.
Because these chemicals are made specifically for the cleaning industry, aren't they?
That's as a separate issue. There's the performance of the chemicals themselves, but it's the support that you get if you buy any PURESEAL product. You're going to ask to join the PURESEAL trade page. You need to put in the invoice number of the purchase that you've made, and you'll then get into a private group where you can confidently ask about any PURESEAL product and get advice from people that use it every day. If you do the training, the classroom training, there's another group again, another level up, as you know, which is the approved applicators, super private secret group where we chat at another level again. But the trade page is part and parcel of the support that you get with regards buying a quality product from a quality manufacturer slash distributor. We make things like the uh, synergy in-house that's been developed. We do have our own chemist. We do trial and test new cleaner products all the time. So in that respect, they are unique, they are special, they are very niche in what we do there.
So I think one of the more divisive points is when people come up on the Facebook pages and they see the price of Nuclear Pro, for example, or Nuclear Fallout, and they compare it to local farm shop hypo. One, like you say, there's a difference in compliance, but two, is there a noticeable difference in efficacy?
You couldn't have picked a better example, because the two spectrums there are that your farm hypo is typically slightly weaker than normal stuff, but there's not that much in it to worry about. But the Nuclear Fallout has got an ingredient in it that boosts the performance phenomenally well. So for me, if temperatures are low, if I'm up against a really heavy biofilm, or if I'm wanting to shift some stubborn lichens as well, I would go for the Fallout. And the thing as well is, because it's got these special boosters in it, you can also use it weaker. So it doesn't actually cost that much more to do the job better and quicker by using something like Fallout compared to going and using the dairy hypo. And the difference in the performance you'll get in time,
so you can
quality.
You can use it in lower ratios, and from what I've read, it'll dwell for longer, it'll stay on the surface for longer, thus making it more effective.
Yeah, that's one thing as well, is that when people talk about the price of dairy hypo, they're not factoring in the cost of surfactant as well, which isn't significant. But if you can get it, especially something like the Nuclear Fallout, if you get that with the ingredients it's got, you'll never look back. Typically, light growth, simple light after a patio wash and that, hypo and surfactant are fine. But when you are at lower temperatures, when you've got more stubborn staining, when you've got heavier growth that you want to be removing, Fallout's just in another league.
So last question from me, I'm conscious that you want to get off. Is there a difference between hypo with surf boost poured into it? Is there a difference between that and Nuclear Pro, for example?
Surf Boost, the new Surf Boost is the best one yet. I think it came out about maybe 2 months ago. I don't know exactly what chemically the difference is between them. I'd be happy using both. I don't think there'd be an awful lot in it. Well, the thing is that you've got your scent mask as well, though, in your Fallout, your basic Fallout.
So there is
your basic nuclear. Your basic nuclear has surfactants and scent mask in it. Your Surf Boost has also has scent mask in it as well. I don't think there's much in it.
I have noticed when I've used Nuclear Pro, I have noticed that if you're using a surfactant in hypo, if you leave the barrel in one spot, it can tend to sort of separate a little bit, whereas Nuclear Pro seems to be more thoroughly mixed or something. I don't know what it is about that product, but you barely even need to shake it. You can just look inside the tub and you can see that it's well mixed already. I think that might be something to do with it.
There's always a danger with surfactants and hypos. They separate. We've tried various solutions over the years. Some of them haven't worked as well as others, especially, as I say, at lower temperatures. Just be wary. Pure hypo, salty water ain't going to freeze, but if you've got surfactants in it, you need to watch, because they can, and then they turn to jelly, and it's a straining them off and just using it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Awesome.
I think that's it.
Is there anything you wanted to touch on or mention, or have you got anywhere you want people to?
No, not at all. I mean, if anybody wants to, if you want to put the link there to New Tech Cleaning, take a look. You'll understand a bit more about me and what we're doing. the only thing I'd say is, please don't everyone start sending me messages. anyone who's an approved contractor knows that we've got channels and means for getting information, and messaging people personally is the last resort. I love helping people out, but I also have a life.
Yep.
I've had someone message me 11 o'clock at night asking me about window cleaning brushes. I had 2 people message me at 9 o'clock this Saturday night asking basic questions, and ask in the groups, ask on the Facebook pages. If you become a PURESEAL purchaser, use your invoice number, get into the trade page, ask your questions in there. You'll get different opinions from people who've got a better idea of what they're talking about. You can decide for yourself what's going to work best for you. If you've still got questions and it's PURESEAL product related, you can send an email to the office, but better to put it on the page. If after all those have failed, or you are shy and need help, send me a message on working hours, and if I can, I'll get back to you.
Those pictures on your website are so good, where you go down to our services and you can move the arrows across, and you've taken absolutely perfect before and after pictures where it lines up perfectly. That's such a good idea.
I've always done it. I'm super critical that even if I think I don't like a before and after picture that's got a hose in it, won't use it.
Yeah.
It's got to be proper before and after. I'm not OCD, don't get me wrong, but I just think it looks more professional if it is actually before and after.
Taken from exactly the same position.
Yeah, that's it. If you're taking a picture off the grass, put your heel in the ground, make a divot, put a plant pot there, then you know. If it's a gravel driveway, again, put a divot or a bucket in it, or look about where you are, stand. If it's a corner where there's a slab, stand specifically on that corner, then you know when you go back, that's where I took my picture from. Basic thing to do, but I just think it looks a little bit more professional.
Definitely. I reference parts of the image, like I'm taking an image with the top of the shed in it, and I'll make sure I get the top of the shed in the next image. Like, yeah. It makes such a difference. I don't think people really get it sometimes.
It does, and always remember nowadays with modern digital cameras is take it wider and zoom in and crop it later. Don't try and zoom in too much. Just take it, leave a little bit of a margin, a bit of a border. Sometimes it doesn't quite come out how you want it to, and you can crop it in a bit later. Yeah.
Awesome. Mike, thank you so much for joining me. We've been going for almost 2 hours now, so I really appreciate your time. I reckon everyone's learned a lot from tonight. So that's
I hope so. Glad to help. I'm always happy to help out. I enjoy my core business, my money spinners in my own cleaning business, but I take genuine pleasure from doing the teaching, doing the training. It's a good atmosphere and it's a good laugh as well.
Well, you're also,
we don't mind swearing and stuff like that.
You're also very good at it, and who could ask for someone with more experience to teach them? You're absolute masses of knowledge, and thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate your time, and hopefully we can make this a regular thing if you're up for it.
Yeah, because I had a chat with Chris about it earlier on, and he's going to come along as well on some of them, so you'll have double trouble.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Right, mate. Take care. Catch up with you later.
See you in a bit. Bye.
Cheers, mate.
How about that then, guys? That was good, wasn't it? That was very useful. I'm sorry if we didn't get to everyone's questions. It's always very difficult when I'm chatting to someone and we're having our own little conversation. It's difficult to touch on everyone's questions because it sort of stops the flow of the conversation if I'm sort of looking off to the side the whole time. But I think we made it work. There's so much more we can talk about. There's so much more to touch on when it comes to best practices, health and safety, chemicals, what chemicals are good for this surface, what chemicals are good for that. And it's very difficult to fit into one live stream, which is why they put the courses on, which is exactly why, you can't learn everything from a 2-hour live stream. I'd like to just show you while you're here, if you are interested in purchasing from PURESEAL, if you go on any of my videos and have a look down in the description here, if you click any of these links here, this will take you to the PureSeal website, and then I'll get a little bit of kickback from those purchases if you do decide to make any purchases. So I'd really appreciate it if you do. Thank you so much. Has anyone watched this video? This is just a little update on the decking that I cleaned recently and biocided. Actually looks pretty good. I'm quite impressed after just a week. Massive transformation. All of the green has gone. I'm really pleased with that, actually. Mike knows his stuff. Very informative. The module one is well worth the price. I can totally agree. Yeah, that set my foundation for not only chemical knowledge but the sealing knowledge as well. You don't want to go into something like sealing without doing some kind of course or training, because it's such a minefield. Not to like put people off or scare people, but there are so many things, if you didn't know, there are so many things you can do wrong. I think he answered a lot for everyone. Good. Yeah, I'm glad. Common issues of the job, needing a wee. That's one that on this job, actually, this decking job that we went back to the other day, I was absolutely bursting for a wee. I think I actually said it in the video. Worst part of the job is not having a toilet in the van. Crazy. Excellent. Lots to take away and think about. Yep. Like I say, we only brushed on a couple of different subjects, but yeah, there's so much more we can dive into. So hopefully Mike will be back and we'll have more to talk about. In the meantime, let me scroll up and see if I can answer any questions that we might have missed. I bought Surf Boost last week. Amazing stuff. Yeah, I think they've recently changed the formula to Surf Boost. They're constantly changing and adapting stuff. Risk assessments for pressure washing. Can you do a standardized one for residential work? Yeah, you can do a general risk assessment for like domestic work, but it will all... The jobs can vary so much that they're always going to be slightly different, and there should be an area in your risk assessment at the bottom where you can say like you can make changes and edits for each individual job. But when you go on these PureSeal approved applicator courses, you get like a booklet of template risk assessments and stuff, and the cost sheets and all the documentation you need to be like fully compliant. They give it to you, like they give it all to you. You also get a little USB stick with PDF documents, and there's so much that you get from those courses. This book alone, just being able to come away with one of these is so valuable. That's worth the cost of the course on its own, I would say. I'm always referring back to that. Anything to do with concrete creates salt, aka efflorescence. Someone sent me a video, let me see if I can find it, of a job they want me to quote, and it's porcelain, and the efflorescence is insane. I've never seen anything like it.
We have to spray it on.
Look at this.
We have to spray it on, leave it, and then jet wash it. The jet wash don't get that earth.
A jet wash don't?
No.
Well, he's got a better jet wash obviously, but if you're saying it's salt, that salt's the way you got it off. It's just in patches really, isn't it?
Look at that. That's the worst I've seen.
I reckon it's off these steps, Order. I reckon it's the efflorescence off the steps, because if you look, it starts at the steps, doesn't it? And it goes through the fall of the patio to here.
So I've got to go and quote that, and what I'd like to do is a few test patches. Let's have a look now, actually. So what I want to know is what acid-based products are safe on porcelain. marble, slate, honed, porcelain, ceramic, porcelain stain treatments, concrete and grout remover, rust remover, Phos Clean, Enviro Acid. What's Phos Clean? Removes limescale, fast acting, concentrated formula. Is limescale different from efflorescent? This is very effective for removing efflorescence, limescale and cement. Wet the surface and apply the product using a brush or sprayer. Agitate if required. Very important not to let this product dry out. Leave it to work for a few minutes and rinse thoroughly. Phosphoric acid. And it's as easy as that. So that's the product that I'm going to order to go and do that job. It's so useful having these categories on the side. I only found these recently, like this year. Someone in my Discord actually put together a guide for the PureSeal products. Can't remember where they put it. They basically did a spreadsheet using that category section. I can't remember where it is, but you basically look at the surface and it's got like a little tick next to which products are okay. I'm not going to be able to find it now, but how's everyone's week started? Has anyone got any big jobs coming up or anything that they're not too sure about that they want to get some advice on? You've got me here for like another... I kind of want another coffee, but Sophie's gone now. I might take a little break. Little 5-minute break, literally just to go and make myself another coffee. And we can go through some more bits. You've probably got me for like another hour or two. The coffee's kicked in, so I'm feeling good. Let's have a look. I can't find that guide. Oh well, you'll have to just believe me. Jake, please can you expand on how you found customers when you first started? I think you've previously said you started on Facebook. Was it like an advert or was it more casual? It's a very good question. Lots of people, I think lots of people go in many different directions when they're first starting out. The thing you should know about me is that I am a tight ass, and I've been tight from day one. I don't like spending money. That includes spending money on advertising. If I said I'd never spent a penny on advertising, I'd be lying a little bit, because last year was the first year that I purchased a website. So I went on GoDaddy and started advertising because I was taking on a little bit more commercial work, like schools and stuff, and care homes. And so I wanted to have that website where people could get a bit of reassurance that, you know, they can see my pictures, they can see that I'm a little bit more professional than just having a Facebook page. And the other thing I've done is I have tried boosting the odd post on Facebook, but it hasn't been successful at all. So my strategy from day one, it wasn't even a strategy really, I just didn't want to spend any money, so it's just something I started doing. I personally just started posting all of my before and after pictures to Facebook, and I still do this to this day. So you'll see all of my pictures are, like Mike said, they're all taken from the same spot. Oh, you've put it in the Discord, Shane. Thank you. They're all taken from the same spot. Before, after, before, after, before, after, before, after. And I've found that this sells itself. It's very much, in my opinion, it's the most effective way you can sell your service, and it's free. So all you have to do is start a business page on Facebook. So this is separate to my personal account. I've got a personal account here as well. You can start a business page and link it up. And all you have to do, all I did was, every time I did a job, I still post most jobs on here. So, you know, if you see, I don't post every single one, but if you see a job on here, generally that's sort of my week. You can see what I've been up to that week. So just before, after, and that's the way I've done it since day one. And so when you start getting a bit busier, there's no end of content to put up there, because if you take pictures of every single job you're doing, even if you're not on the tools necessarily, if you've got a new piece of equipment, if you've got new sign writing on your van, if you're servicing your machine, if you're taking a trip to a supplier and you've bought some new chemicals, everything you do, just post it and keep your pages active. And also, towards the beginning, the powerful thing about Facebook for me was, at the start when I was posting these before and after pictures, I would share them on my personal Facebook page. So I'd log back into my personal account, search Smelts Pressure Washing, share that post. So now like all 500 odd of my friends would see that post. If I was working at my mum's house, my mum would share that post. If I was doing my sister's decking, my sister would share that, and then all their friends would see it as well. And the word just gradually spreads, and then it gets to the point where if people don't know you're doing this, then they're never going to contact you for work. You've got to get your business in front of as many eyes as possible. And I just found Facebook to be the most effective way of doing that. And not everyone's, I wouldn't even say you need to be tech savvy to be using Facebook. I think doing this is much easier than creating a leaflet or going around posting 300 leaflets. But saying that, my friend Rich has just started his business over in Warsaw, and he's this is a job we did together recently. He's just gone around his local area, and I think he's posted between 5 and I think he was getting packs of 250 leaflets. I think he must have posted about 500 leaflets. I'm not sure. That might be more than what he actually did, but within the first couple of days, he'd already had 3 or 4 jobs booked in the calendar, and then week 2, he's got another 5 jobs, and it's like these have all come from leaflets, and I've had no success with leaflets. I've probably got 1 job from leaflets, and he's just got like 7 or 8 in the space of 2 weeks. So different areas, different things work best for different people. Like I am not going to be targeting elderly people in like big houses, because those elderly people are probably not on Facebook. They're probably not on the internet. They're never going to know I exist. If I was to put a leaflet through their door, there's a chance they'll get in touch. So it's different things for different areas work. There's a chap in our Discord who works for a leaflet company, and he can pay to have his leaflets posted for him. I think sometimes they put them in magazines or newspapers or whatever as well. There's loads of different methods. We had Curbside Cleaning on, Ryan from Curbside Cleaning, a couple of weeks back, and he was saying, was it Checker Trade? I can't remember whether it was Checker Trade or one of the other ones, but he says one of those websites was his main source of lead, and I think he was paying like £80 a month, and that was where the majority of his leads were coming from. So if you can't do these things half-heartedly. You can't just try them a little bit. Google ads, you have to be consistent with Google ads, else they just don't work. You have to be consistently updating your Google profile, else the algorithm's not going to sort of catch it. Is it something to do with SEO? I don't know what I'm talking about. But with any sort of advertising, you've got to be consistent. And because I've been so consistent with Facebook, that is now my main source of leads. Hope that answers your question. I have 3 patios, 2 driveways, 6 large walls, and a huge block paved path all at one property tomorrow. Nice. 3 patios and 2 driveways at one property. That's awesome, Matt. Someone got in touch today for a 650 meter plus block paved communal shared driveway. It's like 7 houses and they all share this huge driveway. And they want a quote for that. And I'm thinking it's going to be, what does everyone else do with their waste, like on a scale that big, where there's going to be so much sand and moss that comes out from between the joints? I'd normally leave it at the property with the customer, leave it on a compost pile, garden waste bins, plant borders. I'll tell them beforehand, like, this is what I do. I don't take waste away with me. I don't think I'll be able to get away with it on a job this big. So I'm thinking about hiring a skip, but I'm not sure. Shane, you've put it in the Discord. What's this? Shane, this isn't what I was talking about, but this is interesting. This is Hero Softwash, isn't it? This is quite a cool guide. Oh look, 5-1 is 3%. It's nice to have the breakdowns there, because I never know what, when people, the Americans use a lot of, 3% hypo. It's nice to know that dilution ratio of what that works out as. So 1-1 is 7%. So this must all be based on, like 15% hypo. It'd be 14%, wouldn't it? But if you're using 10% hypo, for example, are these ratios going to be different? I don't know. So this is what we do in the Discord, basically. We help each other out with pricing. So occasionally people will ask, what stone is this? And we'll do our best to help each other out. And then just how to price certain jobs. So I'll look at that a little bit later tonight and see if I can help out with that. Have we got any PureSeal special discount codes for tonight? I did ask. They don't often hand out discounts. Sean from Prompt Peak has done this amazing guide for nozzles. How good is this? So not only it goes through the different fan jets, but also it explains the orifice size and what that means with regards to the nozzle chart. I think this is so useful. It's nice to have the breakdown, because people are constantly asking about nozzle sizes. And he's said here about, if you've got 2 jets, it would require you to divide that in half and spread it across the 2 nozzles. Very, very handy little guide there, and you'll get access to that if you get into the Discord. Sharing is caring. That's a good $2,500 job, based on 650 square meters. Let's have a look. Resanding So at £4 per square metre, it works out to about 257. And then it's estimating around about 43 bags of sand, and that's being very conservative. So depending on the width of this is based on 1 bag of sand per 15 meters squared. So if the joints are thinner, you might get 1 bag of sand for 25 meters squared, for example. So this is just a very conservative number. But it's better to be safe than sorry. Better to buy more than you need than run out halfway through the job. So yeah, we're looking at about 2.5. But at that point, I'd also be adding on skip hire as well. So it might be more like, 2.7. I also get sand cheaper now from Travis Perkins since my friend Rich went to Travis Perkins and he signed up for a cash trade account or whatever it's called. He got a fixed price of like £2.50 plus VAT for his sand. And then I went in the next day to a different branch and said, my friend just got a fixed price for £2.50. Can you do this something similar for me? And he did. He just matched it. He said, yep. So all this time, I've been paying like £5.60 plus VAT, which I thought was pretty cheap anyway. Last year it was more like £4.60, but then it went up to about £5.60 plus VAT. I thought that was cheap. Now I'm getting it for £2.50 plus VAT, which is good. I need to buy a decent surface cleaner, 20 to 21 inches. Yours looks pretty good. Do you mind telling me where you're telling me about your surface cleaner? H, what sort of machine have you got? And what's your flow rate and what's your bar? What's your liters per minute and your pressure? Because then we can look at whether a 20-inch or 21-inch surface cleaner is actually what you want. I'm sure you already know what you want, but let's have a look anyway. So the one I got for patios and tarmac was from Equip to Clean, and it's the 18-inch Surface Pro from Equip to Clean. This has been fantastic. So since buying it, I've actually removed this trigger and changed it for one of Darren's Q fittings from PWS. It's actually here. So because I've got the ST2600 trigger where you can just hot swap lances and stuff, I've removed this trigger, fitted this one, and it means I don't have to go back and turn the machine off. I don't need a ball valve on the end of my hose. I've got rid of the ball valve because that was heavy and stuff. Now I can keep the machine running, pop my lance off, and just click it into this surface cleaner now, and it works beautifully. And this surface cleaner has been going for like almost 2 years now, I'd say. I do keep it greased up, so there's a little grease nipple in the middle there. How do I make this image bigger? Little grease nipple, right? Oh, come on. They say, manufacturers say you're supposed to grease it after every use. But I grease it maybe once a week, depending on how much I'm using it. But 18-inch surface cleaner. So this was for my 15 litre per minute machine at the time. And it was jetted for that machine. So it's got the 25 degree 1/4 inch jets. Oh, they're 025 and they're also 25 degree. So now in this surface cleaner, I didn't get it. It didn't arrive with 2 bars. Mine actually arrived with, it was a 3-bar one. So I have to spread my nozzles. I have to spread my orifice size across 3 nozzles when I'm using that chart. So now I've got 40 degree fan jets, which I chose because I was cleaning delicate surfaces. I wanted to spread that concentrated pressure across a wider area. So I've put 40 degree fan jets on it, and I think they're 030s. which makes 090 in total. So 030 times 3 makes 090, and that is the appropriate nozzle for my machine. I'm actually doing a video at the moment about surface cleaners. So this is the one that I use for delicate surfaces. It's the one I'm using most of the time. And then recently, second-hand, pre-owned, I bought a BE 20-inch, I think, whirl away. Something like this. And I bought it because it was second-hand. It was very cheap. And, well, let me get a better picture. I got it because I wanted to see if it would work on block paving with the correct jets, if it would like properly pull up all the weeds and stuff, which it doesn't. You know, I've had it on full blast, full pressure, 200 bar, revs all the way up. I've got 15-degree fan jets, and it's still not great. Random from today: was blasting moss and algae, wondering if the mist of these particles being breathed in on a regular basis, if it has any impact on the lungs. You mean the mist of the organic matter that you're cleaning away? I don't know. I doubt that it would be light enough to atomize. And I doubt that it would sort of come back in your direction. I mean, I suppose if you're cleaning into a corner, you do get the mist and the water that comes back up over the top of you. I don't know. It's a good question. I got 11 sand last Thursday at £3.88 a bag at Travis Perkins. Nice. You've got that surface cleaner. Oh. Is Darren watching? How's the training videos coming along with machine maintenance? Yeah, we're waiting for Darren from PWS to do a step-by-step guide on how to service your machine. Where did you get your grease gun? I think Tool Station. They're all pretty much the same. Yeah, I think I got that one. No, mine looks more like that. The pistol grease gun. So, yeah, B&Q maybe. I don't know. They're all very similar. I was on a job this afternoon, pulled the cord, the handle came off in my hand, and then slowly watched the pull cord disappear back into the machine. Just glad the customer had tools to hand. Oh no. Yeah, I did that once with my little Parker brand machine. Pulled the cord, like you say, the handle just comes off, and then the cord just winds back into the machine. But all you have to do is take the little faceplate off. You can either reconnect the handle to the ripped piece of cord, or what I did, I literally took a lace out of my boot and reattached the whole thing using my lace, and it worked for ages. I had to go around with one boot falling off, but that cord lasted ages then. 030 times 3 are there 3 nozzles. There is on my surface cleaner, so this picture wasn't the same as what I ordered. I ordered this, looking at these pictures here. Actually, the one that I ordered had 3 wheels on it, and it was a twin bar like this. But when it arrived, it had 4 wheels on it, and it was a triple bar. Yeah. Do you know how you can raise and lower the bar on your surface cleaner? No. However, you can raise and lower the wheels. Generally, these wheels have got the casters have got a little bit of play in these adjusters here. I don't know if these specific ones do. I think you can also adjust these bolts here that raise the whole surface cleaner up and down. But then it gets to the point where there's a chance that you're just dragging the skirt on the floor, and it's just getting quite hard to push around and stuff. So I've never played with it through fear of messing it up. You know what I mean? Someone said that the correct height for those jets, I'm sure it's like an inch from the surface. I'm sure as long as your nozzles are an inch from the surface, I might be totally wrong. I'm sure it was an inch. Then it's correct. But like you say, if you're cleaning block paving and you want to get all the weeds out, there's a chance that lowering it, you might get better results. But then by lowering that bar, you're also risking potentially catching the bar on, I mean, you're risking it anyway. If you've got like an uneven block and you drag the surface cleaner over it, if that bar hits the block, that could totally scrap the bar or scrap the bearings. And so it's a bit of a risk really lowering it, I think. But it's up to you. This is helpful, these questions, picking brains instead of trawling Google. Yeah, I mean, this is what I do this live stream for. If I can help. I'm not a professional. I wouldn't consider myself a professional, but I have learnt things over the last 3 years, and I've made mistakes, and I've spent hours and hours researching stuff. And if I can save some of you guys that time, where you can just ask the question and I can do the best, answer it to the best of my ability. I don't claim to be right on everything, but I do try. I do try and just be honest. Breathe through your nose. What you? Oh, I thought you were talking to me, Tracy. Are you talking to the chap that was asking about particles? Am I breathing too close to the mic? I was the one asking about the surface cleaner. Going to buy a 21 litre per minute at 200 bar from PWS. So 21 litre per minute at 200 bar, you'd be okay with a 20 inch surface cleaner or a 21 inch surface cleaner. Darren generally recommends that you go for 1 inch for every litre per minute. So if you're around about 21 litres, you can get away with around about 20 inches of surface cleaner. But also it very much matters which nozzles you're going to put in there. And obviously they'll supply you with the correct nozzles. PWS do some kits that include the surface cleaners. So if you look at the Alpha A2, for example, and you spec that with like a Vanguard electric start, 21, 200 bar. And then if you get the ultimate pack at the bottom there, that comes with an 18 inch surface cleaner. And I would recommend going slightly lower. I think if you go too big with these surface cleaners, you're losing some performance. I'd rather have a smaller surface cleaner. I mean, what's 2 inches going to save you when it comes to like time spent walking up and down cleaning a surface? I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference really. So I'd rather go a little bit lower and make sure that that surface cleaner is working to the best of its ability. So yeah, if you choose the ultimate pack, you get everything that you get in the turbo pack and whatnot, but you also get that surface cleaner. And I think you get a little bit more hose with it as well. So in my opinion, that would be the thing to do. And then when you purchase that, they'll spec the surface cleaner with the correct jets, rather than just buying a random surface cleaner off a different website and then having to figure out which jets go with it, Triple bar, that's next level. It wasn't intentional. That's just what I got sent. What's your opinion on water tech machines? They are fantastic. I actually visited Rutland Pumps about a month back. And I got to get a little bit close and personal with some of the way they do stuff around there, and their facility is like an engineer's dream. They make pretty much everything in-house, and Ben knows his stuff. Ben from Rutland Pumps, He's a bit of a guru when it comes to pressure washers and anything mechanical. He's building his own steam engine from blueprints. He's not just putting it together, he's manufacturing, and what's the word? He's machining all the components that go into this steam engine, and he's putting it all together himself. How crazy is that? Could you add new bolts for height? Yep, absolutely. On the surface cleaners, yeah. Do you adjust the surface cleaner bar height for tarmac? Prestige Exterior Cleaning did it on its last video today. No, I've never adjusted the height of the surface cleaner, but I can see how it would be useful. I think it's easier to, rather than adjusting the height every time, I think it's potentially easier to just adjust the nozzles that you're using depending on the surface. Joseph Specky, I think his name is, on one of the Facebook groups, he did a really good video of how to swap the bar over really quickly. So instead of buying different nozzles, or instead of adjusting the height of the surface cleaner and sort of getting into swapping all that over every time, he literally, with very little effort, just spun the bar off. He just got a spanner on the bar, popped the bar off, and put a different bar on that had the different nozzles ready to go. Because those nozzles are quite fiddly to swap over on the fly. So if you've got a couple of different bars where you can just swap them on and off, that might be an easier way to do it. If you breathe through your nose, you filter out stuff. Could you potentially use pencil jets on a surface cleaner and essentially turn it into a turbo surface cleaner? That's very interesting. That's a very interesting question. I never thought of that. So instead of using a 15-degree nozzle, bringing it down even, to like a 0-degree nozzle, and rather than just having 2, maybe 3 or 4, because it's doing the same thing. That's all a turbo nozzle is. A turbo is a pencil jet that's just spinning like that very fast. So why not put multiple nozzles? It's a very, very good idea. I think you're onto something there, mate. What's the point when it becomes pro? Customers say, if you think you did this or that, but you are a pro. Well, I think professional. I think when you're a professional at something, it was in one of the books. It said 10,000 hours is when you can say you're a professional at something. I think. That's the machine you always think of buying from PWS. That's the machine you always think of buying from PWS. This one, yeah, I think that's the spec. That's the one that I'd go for if I was going to buy one now. I mean, I'm in the process. I'm considering employing someone at the moment, and I need a second machine. And I think it would be something along these lines, because it's just got everything you want. Electric start, 21,200, and it just comes with everything you need. I'd probably make sure it comes with the bigger sort of MTM fittings on all the hoses and stuff, which it looks like it already does, to be fair. That looks like MTM fittings. What's not to love? Apart from it being green, I want Darren to powder coat me an orange frame for it, probably. I bet he wouldn't do it. You only need identification to buy hypo stronger than 10%. That's what I learned on the Bioside training course. There you go. Sparkplug Steve. What's the best hypo to use overall for black spots, liching, etc.? I mean, hypo is hypo. Sodium hypochlorite. There's no good or bad sodium hypochlorite. The difference is the surfactant that you use with it. It's the strength of hypo that you buy in the first place. So it can range from 10% all the way up to 15%. So 15% is obviously going to be much stronger. You can get away with using potentially less of it. But also, if you mix in a good surfactant with it, it will stay on the surface for longer, and it will dwell, and it will do what you want it to do. You can get a pre-mixed product from PURESEAL, which is called Nuclear Pro or Nuclear Fallout Pro for the slightly stronger one. So this means you don't have to mess about with mixing anything yourself. So hypo, this is just straight up sodium hypochlorite with nothing else in it. And then you've got the Nuclear Pro, which is sodium hypochlorite, but it's got a scent mask, so it smells a bit nicer. It's got surfactant, wetting agents, surfactant, wetting agents, and scent mask. So this comes pre-mixed. You literally just dilute it with water and then you can use it. Whereas if you buy just hypo on its own, you need to mix your own surfactant in, and you're arguably going to get less dwell time because it doesn't have the wetting agent, and it's not going to smell as fancy. So if you're a beginner, I would recommend definitely 100% going for Nuclear Pro. And then if you get a bit more confident and you're happy with dilution ratios and you get a bit more familiar with the product, you might get to the point where you want to start mixing your own, in which case you can buy their sodium hypochlorite, and then you can also purchase the Surf Boost to mix in with it. This is the surfactant I was talking about. Aids cleaning, increases contact time, boosts foam levels. So if you just use sodium hypochlorite on its own, you're not going to get any foam. It's going to evaporate very quickly, and it's going to bleed off of the surface down into the joints much quicker. Whereas if you put a surfactant in with it, it will foam up and it will sit on top of the surface and it will stay where you want it to stay, and it won't absorb or evaporate as quickly. Which I just learnt from Mike. I didn't consider evaporation before. I thought it was just absorption, but it's got a lot to do with evaporation as well. So I've learned something new tonight. I've learned a lot of new things tonight, actually. Your efflorescence problem if recently laid patio. Hey Jake, your efflorescence problem if recently laid patio. What does that mean, Mick? What do you mean? Welcome to the stream, by the way. Can you expand on that? Are you saying it's a potential problem if it's been recently laid? I don't know. It would be fantastic for block paving, I'd imagine. Like a pencil surface cleaner would be. Yeah. I'd be interested to test that out, actually. If the pencils overlap, it might work. I don't think they'd need to overlap. If the surface cleaner is spinning as quickly as it should be, it wouldn't need to overlap, would it? How would you go about lifting that machine in and out of the van? Ideally, I'd have it van mounted. I'd just let it sit in the van. But you can also purchase these machines on a skid, so you don't have to have this frame. You can have it just on a plate, on an anti-vibration plate, where you can bolt it anywhere in the van, basically, and then have a mounted hose reel, which would probably be the thing I'd do. But then I'd have to reconfigure the whole layout of the van, which might be a bit of a pain. HB pressure washing. How you doing, mate? Called PWS Darren all day Monday. What do you mean, Wayne? You tried to get in contact. I think they're catching up. They're catching up on back orders, working very hard at the minute, so you might struggle to get in touch. Clever Wash from Soft Wash UK is fantastic. £26. Does it say what ratio you're supposed to dilute this stuff? Who is this? What's all these pop-ups, man? Can I just look at the product without being bombarded with all the pop-ups? Oh, look, it's got its... Come on, man. That's another pop-up there and another one down the bottom here. What are you doing to me? So if anyone's interested in learning more about hypo and best practices and stuff, I can thoroughly recommend this podcast, Softwash UK podcast. They're only short 5-10 minute long episodes, but if you're in the van and you just want to learn a little bit on the go, another pop-up. It's on Spotify, Softwash UK. Lindsay, thanks for watching. See you in a bit. Second reason, the PWS machine comes with Q fittings. Yep. Do you think, Jake, that giving all this advice to others will affect your workflow? I know a chap that's given so much advice, he has created serious competition that has left himself very short of work. It's interesting that you say that. I don't think it's directly affecting me. I'm going to continue doing my own thing. I've got a very unique way of advertising. I'm all up for people, starting their own business. I want people to see that there's other options out there instead of just sticking to your regular 9 to 5 where you're miserable and the person you're working for you don't respect and you're constantly disagreeing with. You feel underpaid, undervalued. I went through all that and I want to let people know there's another option out there. And for me, exterior cleaning has been an absolute godsend. It's changed my life. And if I can help someone else, take that step, then in my mind, I'm doing a good thing. It doesn't even have to be exterior cleaning. I'm not necessarily promoting. I'm not telling everyone to go out and start a pressure washing job or a window cleaning round or whatever. I just want people to know that they can go out and work for themselves and do whatever they want to do. And if they're passionate enough and consistent enough, you can be successful in anything. I want to show you. There's a guy on Instagram that I've recently found who is doing these absolutely crazy restorations. Broad landscapes. He I don't know whether this is a good example because I've not watched this video, but he takes like a corner of something that's been chipped, like this for example, and he puts so much effort into making this little thing look like it's new. He's repairing all these different surfaces. It's mainly brick that I see him do. Look, he's getting the grain. He's getting the grain pattern, and then he's using that as a stamp to recreate the pattern on this corner. How can you possibly make money spending this much time doing this tiny portion of a job? I don't understand how you got to be charging so much money to actually make a living out of doing this. I'm sure he does landscaping work as well. I'm sure it's not just this sort of work that he does, but this is the majority of what he posts. And I just think it's incredible. And this just goes to show that when you're passionate about something and you love what you do, you can be successful at anything. The internet has opened up so many opportunities for people. And as long as you're consistent, you can do whatever you like. People can tell when you're what's the word? People can tell when you don't enjoy what you're doing. And if you're going into something purely to make money, then you're probably going into it for the wrong reasons. I saw pressure washing as an escape, as like an alternate path. And I ran the numbers and I thought, as long as I can make as much as I'm earning now, I'm not trying to make millions. I'm just trying to survive. And as long as I can pay the bills with pressure washing, then it's viable. And not only now am I paying the bills, but I have money to spend on holidays that I didn't have before. And I can treat my family a bit more often than I could before. And like, I'm so grateful. And if I can give someone else that extra little push that they need to, because I've always had it in my head that I'm going to be my own boss and have my own business. I just never thought it was necessarily realistic. I thought I had to invent a product. But that's like one of the hardest things you can do, is invent, manufacture and sell a product. I didn't realise you could just start mowing lawns and then create a gardening business. I didn't know it was that simple. Not to say that it's not hard when you start getting into it, like, but I didn't know it was an option. And I take your point. If I'm introducing hundreds of extra people into the industry every year, which I'm not saying I've got that much of an impact, but if that's what I'm doing, then of course it's gonna impact me eventually, and it's probably going to impact a lot of other people that have been in the industry for a while. But I'm not encouraging people to come out and start doing cheap work and start putting out cheap shit. I'm trying to educate people to do it the way I've been taught and to do things the correct way. To charge properly, first of all, not bring the whole price of the industry down, but also to put out proper work. And if you're watching this channel, it means you're interested in doing things properly, at least. Because else you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be learning from people like Mike. Because you already think you know it all and you're just going out to get some money. The reason you're here is because you're passionate about this industry. And that's my viewers. And so I don't see an issue with bringing more people into the industry. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm bringing the right people into the industry with the right attitude, hopefully. I don't know, I kind of went off on a tangent then. Thanks for the question, buddy. LC Exteriors says, I do gutter and fascia soffits by hand and also have aqua water-fed pole, which is useless for water-fed. What water-fed pole would you recommend? So I've got a Gardener CLX22 and it's been fantastic. It's not particularly stiff, it's not particularly light, but it was cheap. It's not the longest pole you can buy, you know. If I had money to invest in, I mean, it's not broke, so there's no reason for me to replace it, but if it does break and I need another pole, I'd probably look at maybe the SLX range, because I know people have had good success with the SLX, and I might go a little bit longer, maybe a 27 or a 30 foot. But Gardener have been in the industry for a long time, and they do some fantastic poles, and everything you need is on this website when it comes to window cleaning, not soft washing it specifically, but I use my water fed pole for soft washing a lot. I use it for chemical application a lot. You've also got Goods Vacuum Systems who have recently upped their water-fed pole game. So they've got their range of water-fed poles as well. Carbon fibre. I've got the power pole. It's not it's not what we're talking about. It's not that sort of water-fed pole. It's a high-pressure extendable lance, but it's probably made of similar stuff, and I think it's fantastic. I love it. Hope that answers your question. Mick, efflorescence on patio. Ask question. Recent laid. Builder or DIY? What's the bedding mortar where the sand came from? eBay or store? Was it dot and dab for cost, letting water underneath, or full bed? So you're saying I should ask the customer more about the patio. I understand. Were the slabs primed? What pointing mix? Garden edge to patio start? Was it waterproof to stop water flowing off the lawn? I imagine you can clean it, no problem, but I'd say it will be back within a few weeks. Okay. Do you think the customer's going to know all the answers to these questions, though? That's the other thing. But you're right. I should advise. I can clean it today. I'll do a test patch, make sure you're happy, and then if you want me to go ahead, I'll clean the rest. But the risk is that it's all going to come back in a couple of weeks if the problem is deeper than just surf. I mean, there's clearly a deeper problem there, causing that much efflorescence to, it's probably the moisture from the garden coming down onto the retaining wall and bleeding onto the patio. That efflorescence is coming from the retaining wall and bleeding down onto the patio, probably. And you can clean it and fix it, but it's unless the root cause of the issue is fixed. Yeah. First thing I'm doing tomorrow is going to Travis Perkins to get my £2.50 sand. I mean, you can say I'm going to be buying sand regularly from this branch. And that's what I do. I've got virtually one branch that I use to purchase sand from, and I could probably go through my accounts and find that I spent a decent whack on sand over the last 12 months, and just say, look, this is how much I've spent with you guys. Can you fix me a price? And if you don't ask the right questions, this is what the guy said at Travis Perkins to me. If you don't ask the right questions in the correct manner, you won't be offered a discount. You've got to say that, this is a product I intend to purchase a lot. This is my line of work. This is what I do. I clean drives and then I resand them. So is there anything you could do with the price? If someone comes in and just asks for a discount, then they won't give it to them. They won't even offer it to them. I completely agree. Thank you for being inspirational. Tracy, I wouldn't say yeah, okay. Thank you. I'm not trying to be some sort of, like Mike says, there's a lot of gurus on the internet that are trying to. I'm just going to check to make sure Maya's not out of bed, because I swear I just heard her. 2 secs. Oh, hello, girlie. You're right. You go back to bed. Come. How long have you been sat there for? You've been sat there for a long time. 2 minutes. 2 hours. thought she was awake. Literally just sat outside the door with her teddy. She got three teddies on her lap, just sat outside the bedroom door. It's a bit scary sometimes. I've walked up the stairs in the past with the light off, and I've got to the top and she's just there, just staring at me. I'm like, ugh! How long have you been stood there? Oh, she's crying again. Guys, I'm just going to play a quick advert and I will be back. I'm just going to go and make myself another coffee. I'll be back in 2 minutes, I promise. Now, these videos take a lot of time and effort to film and edit, on top of trying to run a successful pressure washing business. If you find any of the information in my videos useful, then I'd like for you to consider becoming a paid member of the channel. Circle members and above will get access to my private Discord for members only, where you can pretty much get a hold of me 24 hours a day for inspiration, technical help, marketing advice, or just a general chat. I post pictures and videos that you won't see on any of my other socials. You'll be the first to hear about giveaways, special offers and announcements, and it's just generally a nice place full of like-minded people who are all heading towards similar goals. We've got various different experience levels. We've got a few professionals in the chat as well. If you want to push your business, in my opinion, this is the place to be. We also have two other membership tiers. One is just to show a bit of support for the channel, and the other one is for boosted members, which will not only give you access to the private Discord, but also loads of high quality promotional images for you to start your business. I know what it's like when you're ready to get going, but you don't have any before and after pictures to put on your leaflets. At the moment, there's about 150 images that you can use for pretty much whatever you like, and my intention is to constantly update these over the next few years with all of my before and afters that have helped promote my business. Last thing before I let you go, new videos come out every Monday night at 5:30, and then I go live at 7:30 to chat to you guys and answer as many questions as possible. We do live quotes for real customers and just generally keep up to date with everything going on in the pressure washing world. Thanks for watching, back to the video. Anyone still here? Sorry about that. I've just realised I haven't had my dinner. The things I do on a Monday night. 400ml of Clever Wash per 20 litres of hypo. Seems to foam up nicely. That's good. I think the Surf Boost is 500ml for 25 litres. So it's about the same, isn't it? We'll catch up tomorrow as every week. Take care. Thanks, Greg. Thanks for watching. I see pressure washing therapeutic as it satisfies my simple mind. Yeah, I mean, that's a great thing about pressure washing is the content you can get from it sells itself, and it's just nice to watch. So it's very easy to just film and then just put that out as an advert. You have changed the lives for so many others already, Jake. I totally respect you for doing that. I hope so. I've had messages from people saying that they wouldn't have started if they hadn't have started watching my videos, which is nice to know, isn't it? You're showing people the right way to do things. Others in the same industry should be happy because there's a lot of cowboys potentially giving the industry a bad reputation. You're driving up the quality. That's my intention. That's what I'm trying to do. If I was sat here either giving bad advice, which I hope I don't do, or just encouraging people to start and not trying to educate them at the same time, I think that's a bad thing. I think if I'm encouraging people to start, if with the proviso that it's correct for them, that they actually want to be in the industry, I'm not telling people to go out and spend $2,000 on equipment and try it. The way I got into the industry was I spent 300 quid on equipment and then just gave it a go for a while to see if I liked it. And that's the route that I'd still recommend if you've not done anything like this before. The last thing I want you to do is go and spend a fortune on equipment and then realise you don't enjoy it. Just give it a go first. Buy some cheap equipment, make it pay for itself, and see if it's viable and see if you enjoy it, because some people might find that it's not for them. You get filthy, you get wet. It can be a long day sometimes if you've got a big job. You do need a bit of stamina. It's not as easy as it looks. And you've got to be prepared to make. One of the big things is decision making, like being good at changing things up on the fly. Like Mike says, things go wrong regularly, and you've got to be prepared to adjust your method. I don't know about any of you, but I feel like roof scrapers are seriously overpriced. Yeah, I mean, it is just a little bit of steel laser cut into a certain shape. I mean, it's not only that. You've got to buy a proper pole, a light carbon fiber pole that's long enough to get to the top of the roof. You need the attachment to actually get the roof scrapers to attach to the end of the pole. I don't think they're gouged. I don't think they're overpriced on purpose. But I think everything that goes into making them and to making them fit make that method of cleaning, the barrier for entry is quite expensive, because you need all the gear, else you're just not going to be able to do a proper job. And I'd even go as far as saying, even once you've got all that proper scraping gear, it's still not a very effective way of cleaning a roof, personally. The amount of effort you have to put in my opinion, to be able to scrape enough moss off of a roof to say I've done a good job, it's just not worth it. You've got to set the customer's expectations and say, I'm not going to get all the moss off. I'll get 95% of the moss off, and then the buyer side will do the rest. I'm not happy with 95%. I want to get 100% of the moss off, else my pictures look shit. I want to take good before and after pictures, and if people can still see little bits of moss, that's not selling itself. Unless you stood far enough away, you know. I don't know. I'm not really sold on roof scraping. I will do it, you know. What do you use the extendable lance for? Pressure washing roofs. Thanks for the advice, LC Exterior. No problem, mate. Would it go on a Karcher? This water-fed pole? Probably not. No. Looks like that bed is defying gravity. That's how I designed it, yeah. It's got no legs. It's bolted to the wall on all three sides, and then it wraps around on the desk. The desk is the same. The desk is just floating. That was the idea. I learned so much sitting on the stairs listening to the adults talking. I know everything that was going on. What do you mean, sitting on the stairs? Decaf, I hope. No, it's caffeinated. I used to drink beer on these live streams, and I found that when I drank beer, after an hour and a half, 2 hours, I'd be done. I'd start slurring my words, and I'd get very tired, and it wouldn't make for very good content. But now that I've switched to coffee, I'm a little bit more alert. It kicks in, 10 minutes into the stream. And when I've got a guest on, it means I can actually focus on what they're saying rather than thinking about how tired I am. It does impact, being tired massively impacts how well you can converse with someone and how well you can pay attention to them. I could be sat in front of one of the most interesting people in the world. If I'm tired, I'm not asking good questions. I'm not bouncing off of what they're talking about. I'm just trying to think of anything to say just to keep the conversation flowing. Whereas when I'm a bit more alert, a couple of coffees is much more natural to me. So. Go and order pizza. I've got what have we got tonight? Can't remember. Mushrooms something. Craig, welcome mate. Never accept a 2-hour job from Steve. Got home 40 minutes ago. Well, he said the job was going to take 2 hours, and it's taking you all day. Oh dear. D Gallagher Painting says, "Hi mate, David here, self-employed painter and decorator. Been watching your channel for a few months now. Enjoy doing bits of power washing before doing exteriors." Awesome. That's amazing. Thanks for watching, mate. So do you say you've got an external wall to paint or whatever, you pressure wash it first? Do you use I know when it comes to some painted surfaces, like a painted brick wall for example, if you don't use the correct paint, if it's not like breathable, it can like chip really easily and start flaking off. Some people use paint on like slabs on the floor. They'll paint their concrete slabs, and then within a couple of weeks it starts flaking off. I think it's why it's important you need to use like a breathable sealer rather than like a masonry paint. Do you know much about that sort of stuff? What if one called themselves cowboys? Will they get work since everyone is talking about them? Maybe. Might be a marketing strategy. Can you just remind us what was your first kit for 300 quid? Yeah, I don't think I should, because I think they're fed up of me talking about it because they keep selling out, and they're not designed for commercial use. So I can't recommend these products for commercial use because the website says it. This product is unsuitable for commercial use and the warranty won't apply. But it's a very cheap. It's actually gone up in price. It went down to like 250 quid at one point. It's like 11 litres per minute. So it's something you can run off the customer's tap. It's a petrol machine. And for me, it was a great starter machine. This did everything I wanted it to do. And this was how I started my journey into pressure washing. It was cheap enough where I could just buy it, try it out, see if I enjoyed it. And then it paid for itself in 1 or 2 jobs. And then I spent the next 6 months saving up for a van and a better machine. Mushroom stroganoff. I don't know. Can't remember what it is. See you, buddy. Thanks for watching, mate. How much are roof scrapers? I mean, the pole can be anywhere from 200 to 600, 700 quid. And then you've got the scraper attachment to actually be able to plug a scraper into the pole, which can be like 100 quid, 200 quid. And then you've got all the different scraper blades. You've got a scraper blade for every profile of tile. So, I mean, there's probably like 30 different profiles of tiles. There's nylon blades for like flat slate roofs, slate tiles. And they're nylon instead of metal so that they don't scratch the tiles. There's brushes, like wire brush scraper blades. There's all sorts. Jake, best way to remove paint from wooden decking? Ooh. I can't say, mate. I don't know. That's a tricky one. I would have thought sanding. Pressure washing, then sanding, maybe. I don't know if you can use paint stripper on wood. Probably not. Chemical strippers. Oh, maybe you can. Scrape off most of the paint. That's not going to be effective, is it? Sanding your deck to bare timber will give you the best results. But can you sand decking sander? Can you get a sander that's got the profile of the deck in it? Because you don't want a flat sander, do you? Because what's the correct side to have decking? Should it be ribbed, like ribbed side up? Because I always see people saying that it's supposed to be like smooth side up, but everyone installs it ribbed side up. If it's like this, you can probably quite easily just sand it. But if it's ribbed side up, you can have more of an issue getting in between the cracks. Like if it looks like that, you're going to struggle getting down in between all those little joins. I think roofers say not to pressure wash roofs, so the organic matter destroys the roof over time and they make more money. Yeah, it's a battle. Roofers versus exterior cleaners. It's an ongoing feud. I don't know if you realise, but you have like 4 to 5 minute delay on your stream. I probably don't. It's because I'm trying to answer everyone's comment or question, and it takes me time. And I can see the latest comment was from D Gallagher Painting, saying he's from Ireland, and he's probably just posted that. But I'm still up here reading your comment, so it just takes me a while to get to the bottom. I never actually get to the bottom because the comments keep coming through. I've got low latency mode on the live stream, so your comments should come through within a couple of seconds. I just don't get to read them that quickly. Have you ever thought about having a 1,000 litre IBC for customers' properties that don't have outdoor water supplies? I don't think I'd want to carry 1,000 litres of water in my van anyway. I probably could, because I've got a 3.5 ton Sprinter, so I'd probably be able to, but I just don't think I'd want to have that much water on board. If the customer doesn't have a water supply, I probably won't do the job, unless it's a tiny job. I decided to use my 350 litre tank today. It made such a difference in the texture and density of the clean. What do you mean the texture of the clean? How does your buffer tank make a difference in the texture of the clean? What whirlaway did you buy with that Parker? You can't. I wouldn't recommend using any sort of surface cleaner on a machine less than about 15 litres per minute, unless it's a tiny like 12-inch one or something. But you want to be using, because that machine was 11 litres per minute, you'd want to be using like a little 10-inch surface cleaner, and at that point it's probably not much, it's probably not going to be that effective. You'd probably be better off just using like a turbo nozzle or a fan jet. Roughly, Darren from PWS reckons roughly 1 litre per minute per inch of surface cleaner. So if you've got a 15 litre per minute surface cleaner, ideally, sorry, if you've got a 15 litre per minute machine, ideally you want about a 16-inch surface cleaner. Or if you've got a 21 litre per minute machine, you want about a 20-inch. Or somewhere in between, maybe about an 18, which is what I went for. There were less vibration too. The sound of the machine also changed. Selling the 350 and going for a wheelie option though. Yeah, just having a buffer tank in the first place will definitely reduce the amount of strain that you're putting on the machine. If you're not confident that you'll get in, say you've got a 15 litre per minute machine and you're plugged directly into the customer's tap. If you're not confident that you're constantly getting 15 litres per minute from that tap, which unless you've got a flow reader on there, you're not going to know, then you could be starving the machine of water. And if your pump is constantly pulling water and air, you're going to get all these vibrations down the hose, and it's going to be very inconsistent. So if you can put a buffer tank, even a bucket of water, if you have a bucket of water between the water supply and your pump, just a buffer, a cube of water, it will make a huge difference. And then if the customer's got like a low pressure water supply where you've not got much flow coming out of it, if you can have like a 350 litre tank, you can allow that to fill and then just feed from that while it's constantly topping itself up. It's going to be much better for your longevity of your machine. Is that Parker machine loud? Any petrol engine machine is loud. Yeah, they're all loud. D Gallagher says, I'm from Ireland here. 90% of the houses I paint are sand cement render, so no real issue with breathability. You are right though, specialist paints are required for those surfaces. Don't recommend painting slabs, garden retaining walls, etc. Okay, wicked. Hi Hooper, how you doing mate? TJ, the Parker machine isn't too loud. Pop round, I'll fire mine up and show you. $14-inch should be fine with it. Hooper, is that what you're doing? Are you using the 14-inch surface cleaner with your Parker machine? Everyone wants to use a surface cleaner on block paving, and I'm just not convinced. If you want to just do patios, concrete, natural stone, all that sort of stuff, then yeah, with a low power pressure washer, I'd recommend getting a small surface cleaner. But if you're trying to tackle anything more than that, then I wouldn't bother personally. Hey Jake, this is the guy I met and he told me he watched you on YouTube. Yeah, you guys met in real life, didn't you? And then you just started chatting randomly and my name came up in a conversation and then you both ended up watching my channel. That's crazy. We shall see. I'm going to take a leap on the turbo surface cleaner. What, you gonna make one? See if it works. How do I pick the correct turbo nozzle size? So if you, I mean, we've got the nozzle chart here in my Discord, courtesy of Prompt Peak. If you type into Google nozzle chart and then pull up pretty much any of these, this is the one I use because it's just nice and readable. So if you look at the flow rate of your machine and the pressure. So for example, my machine is 30 liters per minute, 200 bar. So at the top here, I'm going to go across to 200 bar. Can I zoom in? So at the top here, 200 bar, and then I'm going to scroll down to roughly where it says around about 30 liters per minute. So I'm between 28 and 31 here. So I'm looking at a 090 nozzle, or 09 nozzle. Before I had it was like 250 bar at 15 liters per minute. So before I had an 04 or an 045 nozzle. And when you go to pick a turbo, so the one I'd recommend is from PWS, one of these ones. It'll ask you what size you need. You could also just go on the PWS website and then scroll down to nozzle chart, and it's got that exact same nozzle chart here. I hope that's helpful. We actually had both been on the stream the night before. We had actually both been on the stream the night before. TJ does my neighbour's windows and we got chatting. Bonkers, small world. So that's crazy. So you were both watching the live stream the night before and then it randomly came up in conversation and you both were like, oh, I watch him too. That's mad, that is. GTX 970, I would have thought so, yes mate. Can I send the specs and you tell me? Yeah, sure. 248 bar, 18 liters per minute. So let's go 250 bar, 17.9. So you'll end up with a 0.5 nozzle. 0.5 turbo nozzle. The other thing people can do, if you're struggling for water at a property, if you want to use less water but maintain 250 or 200 bar, you can go for the next nozzle down or the next few nozzles down. So instead of an 05, you could go for an 04 or even an 035 and just turn your either revs down or turn your unloader down. So you'd end up putting the same amount of water through a smaller nozzle orifice, which would increase the pressure. But if you just want to maintain 250 bar instead of 300 bar, for example, if you were to put more water through that same orifice, you might be going up from 250 to like 300 bar. But if you reduce the flow or the pressure coming from your pump by turning it down, you can use less water but maintain the same pressure. So there's a lot to be said. I'm trying to find a good way of explaining that because I do it very often. I do it regularly with mine. I've got 3 different turbo nozzles. I've got one that's a high flow turbo that's using the maximum that my machine can put out. But if the water supply is not very good and my tank's filling slowly, I'll put a smaller turbo nozzle on, but I'll turn my needle valve down. So I'm still achieving 200 bar, but I'm using much less water to do it. And yes, it's going to affect the clean, but I'm still using the sort of pressure that I want to use. It just gives you more control and more versatility to be able to, again, change and adapt to what you get given at the property, to the situation that you turn up to. So if you turn up to low pressure, it's nice to have different nozzles where you can spec down your system to accommodate. I need to find a good way of presenting that information, because I feel like I didn't explain it very well just then, and I've been trying to explain it to myself in my head. I know how to do it, I know what I'm doing, but trying to say it in like a clear and concise way is quite difficult. The last thing I want to do is try and explain that and then just end up confusing people. I'm late tonight. How many people have been? How many P's has he been for? I've been for 2. I think I managed to get through the whole of Mike, a conversation with Mike, without even going once, which was good. He was on for about 2 hours. No worries, mate. Winther. Smelty bringing people together. So weird that we even mentioned Smelt at all, and we're both on here the night before. Yeah, that's crazy. Hyundai 4000P. First time I used it today. Was a fantastic machine to use. Did you get that from PWS? This thing. Does turning down the revs pull less water through the pump as far as the litres per minute go? Yes, that's my understanding, yes. The unloader valve adjusts the pressure, and the revs adjusts the flow. They're related to each other, so you may have to adjust them both to get the result that you're after. But in basic terms, that's how I'd explain it, yes. You did explain it. Make the holes smaller and push the water through smaller space so the pressure is still high. Exactly. Yep. Fastest pier in the West. Same as pencil jets with a water-fed pole. Yeah. Yeah, so you'll get much higher pressure if you decrease the orifice size of the jets that it's going through. I got it from Amazon, was a little cheaper. Oh, nice. I did go to PWS last week and bought a load of parts for the new buffer tank. Beautiful. What are the numbers looking like on this one? 684 views in 5 hours. I don't think that's too bad. You can get a pop-up buffer. Yeah, we've looked at the pop-up buffer tanks. The issue that I've got with these as an idea is just that they're not on wheels, so they're going to be very difficult to maneuver around the property once they're full, once they're even partly full. What did you think of the expo? We got there too late, and everyone started packing up by the time that we managed to have a look around. And I was annoyed because I was filming the thing, and I didn't start filming anything until people started packing up, and so I didn't get a chance to see hardly anything. You could put it on a trolley like a gardener backpack. You could do, but then at that point, why not just get a wheelie bin? I suppose you can compress it when it's not in use. Yeah, maybe. I've been trying to get the hang of Instagram today. Does anyone find it brings a decent amount of work? So far, I'm almost 100% Facebook leads. I don't have much success with Instagram, although today someone got in touch since I posted my TP that I cleaned the other day. Someone has been in touch with another TP that they want cleaning. So that's promising. And that was through Instagram. You focused on TikTok. Joe Hatton, welcome. Do you have a better, cheaper alternative to the VTUF buffer tank? Yes. Do not buy the VTUF buffer tank. It is so overpriced. It's crazy. Oh, I've got a review. Jake recently jet washed and resanded my parents' block paved driveway. They look brand new and it's been down many years. Really easy to get a quote and book. Would thoroughly recommend. Aww. That's nice, isn't it? Yeah, Joe, if you have a look on my YouTube channel, mate, I do a guide to make your own for about 90 quid. It's very simple, and it's even easier now because you can buy a kit. Since I did this video, various suppliers have started either supplying buffer tanks, their own like wheelie bin buffer tanks, or they've started supplying a kit where you can make your own. You just buy whatever size tank you want, or wheelie bin, and where is it? So this one, it was posted a year ago. DIY £89 buffer tank. Oh, I need to get YouTube Premium. For this exact reason, I don't want to see a half-naked man when I'm trying to live stream. God, I can see his pubes. I don't want to see that. Come on. There's so many questionable adverts, by the way, on YouTube. I've reported a few adverts because they're like clearly sexual. And it's like, what are you doing? So this is the video, and if you buy the wheelie bin or the tank that you want, get the ad block plugin. Takes 20 seconds. No way. So this is the VTUF one, which I think is incredibly overpriced for what it is. So you can get a similar kit. Hello.
Hello.
You right?
Yeah, you?
Yeah. Did you run or did you swim? Huh?
Swam but barely swim.
Was it good?
No. My body was tired.
Sophie did the wolf run the other day. And you were a big wetty, weren't you, afterwards? Big dirty wetty.
Mm.
I'm going to come off in a minute, Sophie, right?
And we're gonna get into bed and have a shower in the morning.
All right then. Oh, it's cold out there. So you can go on AC pressure washers and purchase a high flow buffer tank conversion kit. And this kit gives you everything you need to do what I've done in that video. So without going through Amazon and buying all different bits and bobs from here and there, this one has much higher quality fittings. You've actually got a filter in this kit. You've got proper big boy barbed fittings and the same high flow float valve. Hope that's useful for you. There you go, Wizard of Wash. Says the same. How did you clean the TP? Hypo. I did a very small test patch in the corner with some hypo. And I also tested Biocide as well, just to make sure it didn't do anything funny with it. I knew it wouldn't, but I just wanted to make sure. And yeah, literally just brushed on, I think it was about 5 to 1. And within minutes, it looked like that. Which is crazy. And then I made the mistake of rinsing. No, it wasn't a mistake. I rinsed too close. And it cleaned up even better. I was like, oh. Now I've got to pressure wash the whole thing. Because I was just rinsing from above. And I got a bit close and it was like, it brightened it up even more. I was like, oh my god. I couldn't leave that bit looking even cleaner. So I ended up having to, yeah, pressure wash the whole lot. Which I weren't planning on actually doing. So you can't actually tell, but I think that was after it was just soft wash with chemicals, and then that was after it was pressure washed as well. And they want me to do the whole front of this building as well. I've submitted a quote, but I haven't heard back from them yet, which is cool. Can you buy a wheelie bin from the council? There's a website where you can just buy a wheelie bin. Wheelie bin. I think it's called Wheelie Bin Direct. Oh, Wheelie Bins. Here we go. You can get any colour. You can shop by size. I think the one in the video was 120 litre. I think. You can get an orange one. Oh, I didn't know that. I'd have bought an orange one if I'd have known. And yeah, they're pretty cheap. They've got a weird thing though where you purchase it and then they send you an email with their bank details and you've got to send a bank transfer. That's what I had to do anyway. Where's orange? Maxi or MIDI fittings, what's your preference? Are they called Maxi? I didn't know that's what they were called. 3/4 inch fittings are the ones that I use, which I'm guessing would be Maxi. No worries, Joe. Do you think TFR would do the same job? No. No, I don't think so. Got a quote this week. Customer asked about block paving and having it cleaned, but having a sealer that is porous to prevent or reduce water flowing back to the house. Not sure it's even possible. You can get a sealer that's, yeah, breathable and porous. I'm not sure what the I'm not sure which ones specifically do that. Instead of sealing the joints, what you could do is apply Joint It Fine, which is a porous, hard setting sand. What does Acrylic Seal say? No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, mate. Yeah, you could maybe suggest... This website's quite slow sometimes. Joint it fine. It's not a sealer, but it's a hard setting sand. And it's porous, so it'll still allow the water to absorb. I'm guessing they want it sealed because they want to set the sand. So it says there, look, water permeable. How do you price for soft washing render? Believe it or not, Tracy, I've never had a render clean to price. No one's ever asked me to clean their render. I've got a little one coming up in the next few weeks, but it's just like a wall. It's like a wall that goes around the corner of like the back of the garden. And I'd like to price like a full house render clean. Joint it fine, all that's posh. It is posh, and it's not cheap, but it's cheaper than sealing the surface. Only by a little bit. I priced up the same property. One to have the joint it fine, and the second one to have a sand and seal. And the sand and seal worked out to be slightly more expensive. If I remember correctly, these are around about 35, 40 quid a bag, I think. I done a full house for 600 quid and I was dead afterwards. Oh no. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. It's been 3 hours and about 42 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. And we've got another good guest on next week. He's still going to get back to me to make sure he can make it, but it's going to be a really good one. So thank you all for watching and enjoy the rest of your evening. If you haven't already, go over and watch the latest video. And I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. See you in a bit. Now these videos take a lot of time and effort to film and edit on top of trying to run a successful pressure washing business. If you find any of the information in my videos useful, then I'd like for you to consider becoming a paid member of the channel. Circle members and above will get access to my private Discord for members only, where you can pretty much get a hold of me 24 hours a day for inspiration, technical help, marketing advice, or just a general chat. I post pictures and videos that you won't see on any of my other socials. You'll be the first to hear about giveaways, special offers and announcements, and it's just generally a nice place full of like-minded people who are all heading towards similar goals. We've got various different experience levels. We've got a few professionals in the chat as well. If you want to push your business, in my opinion, this is the place to be. We also have two other membership tiers. One is just to show a bit of support for the channel, and the other one is for boosted members, which will not only give you access to the private Discord, but also loads of high quality promotional images for you to start your business. I know what it's like when you're ready to get going, but you don't have any before and after pictures to put on your leaflets. At the moment, there's about 150 images that you can use for pretty much whatever you like, and my intention is to constantly update these over the next few years with all of my before and afters that have helped promote my business. Last thing before I let you go, new videos come out every Monday night at 5:30, and then I go live at 7:30 to chat to you guys and answer as many questions as possible. We do live quotes for real customers and just generally keep up to date with everything going on in the pressure washing world. Thanks for watching, back to the video.
The scars and all these empty walls.